Mm.
All right, so last time we played, variety of interesting things happened. So you guys attacked this sort of fisherman's house near this stone bridge on your way to Lady Timor's domain, and you discovered a very interesting thing. One, that this entire sort of bridge and farmhouse, etc., have been taken over by Talon operatives. Now they are way deep, and I mean, based on the location of where you guys are right now, you're still in Lord Gallo's territory. But this bridge is one of the several that go over this sort of mountain river that leads towards the entry to Lady Timor's domain. And to have so one, it was quite interesting and disconcerting to see Talon operatives this deep in Duke Gallo's territory. Partially indicative of the fact that the King Steppengard's Talon are actively working and actively trying to seal off sort of the opportunities for aid to Duke Gallo, and also that they are they are watching the entries and exits from Duke Gallo's domain. So you guys did manage to kill quite a few of them. You also managed to capture several of them, including the commander. You asked them a bunch of questions. You put them to the question, and basically what they told you was that they had been here for a couple of days. Then they arrived here. The place was abandoned. They discovered no people, and everything was sort of intact. Your guess, and frankly, the Talon guys, when they found this, they didn't ask too many questions, but your guess is that either the people who lived here or would normally live here either saw the Talons coming and escaped, or the Talons are lying to you about there having been no people here when they arrived and had massacred them. Now, that said, these particular Talons do not seem of the murderous sort. Hi there.
Hi.
You
How
guys
you
have
doing?
Asher. This is my son, Asher.
Hey, Asher. How you doing, buddy?
Hi.
Asher is big
Hi.
brother to Orna and Tamar.
Good to see you.
Me too.
Asher,
You
these
and
are
I are like
Toes.
you and I are like opposite hair guys, like two ends of the spectrum. So anyway, you don't get a vibe off these guys that they're murderers. Now the one thing that sort of is was a little bit dicey was the fact that they had allied with a troll on this bridge, but the guy explained it and said, look, we got here, we sort of took over the bridge, and the troll just showed up and offered to assist us. Now this may be related to Troll's historical affinity for bridges, or it may be indicative of some other operations as planned. You don't know, and the troll is dead, so I mean you can't really ask him questions. But they were like, we wouldn't normally ally with trolls, but this guy was
Wait,
sort
I
of
thought we
offering
could
his
ask
services.
people questions.
Well, yeah, I guess you can ask dead people questions depending on who's doing the asking, Gordon.
You forgot,
Um,
or it's indicative of the Talon's propensity for lying.
or it could be indicative of that. So Wraith weighing in on with his dubiousness. Anyway, you have not. The last conversation you had with these guys, we were like, look, this is the situation. We don't know if you're lying. If we just let you go, on one hand, we have killed several of your compatriots, which would put us in, well, frankly, legal jeopardy at the very least with regard to your organization and your king. But we're trying to help you. We're trying to help your king, and this was sort of collateral damage, if you will. What we can't guarantee, and this was basically Aaron Dare talking about this. Was, look, what we can't guarantee is what you do if we were to let you go, and if you were to follow around, betray us, that kind of stuff, that would be bad. And if we had, and basically the subtone was, if we believed that that was what you were going to do, maybe cause more trouble on the way back to meeting up with King Steppengard's guys,
Yep. Then we
then
just end you right now.
then yeah, then the end is near. They obviously are like, we don't want that. Obviously, we don't want to be slain out of hand. At the same time, how do we prove to you that we will abide by what you need us to do? I mean, if you let us go, you don't know what we're going to do. I can get
Right.
the guy's like, look, the commander's like, look, I could, depending on what you want, I could give you my word, but it's obvious that you guys have had interactions with Talons before that did not go as well as might be expected. So there's sort of an impasse here. A Talonic standoff, if you will.
Right.
Except for they're completely in your power. I mean, you've got them all tied up and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it comes back to you guys.
So I think one of the options that we talked about that I think is probably the best one, and you guys stop me if I'm speaking out of turn, is that we were going to take them as we continue on to Lady Timor, and the first town we get to with the constabulary or with, anyone that could like keep them or either lock them up or just keep them, we were going to drop them off there and say, here, keep these guys under watch. We're going to Lady Timor. We'll be back through this way, and then we'll take them with us when we get back through here.
Give me a knowledge local. Anybody who has knowledge local, give me a knowledge local.
Probably not my strong suit.
Well, I have that. I don't know how high it is, but oh, it's not bad. Let's see.
Not a bad roll though.
18 solid. Yeah. Anybody else want to give it a shot?
Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to get to the. Oh crap! No, that's how to. The new roller is messing with. There we go. A D20 plus 6.
13. Okay. Anybody else want to try knowledge local?
I would if I could.
Oh no, with an 18. Okay, so all right. So those of you who've got an 18 on knowledge local, which is basically Ono and Arendar, I mean, you confer for a little bit. There's a problem with the drop them off at the nearest town plan. One, these guys have legal standing throughout. I mean, they're the representatives of the king. And the moment you leave that town, they're going to, I mean, the reality is they would likely assert that authority over whatever townsfolk are there. The townsfolk would be then caught on the horns of a dilemma similar to what you guys are now, which is, what do we do with the king's men once they've asserted their authority? It's like if somebody came to your house with 2 cops and said, here, I want you to watch these cops. Don't let them do anything crazy. And then in a couple of days, we'll be back and we'll pick them up. We just want you to hold on to them. The moment you guys leave, the cops are going to go, all right, we're cops. Let us go. And they're going to, I mean, you would be like, well, what do I do? This puts me in a very hazardous position. Second, you guys don't have any obvious legal standing in the band.
Yeah, we do. I hold up my falcata.
Well, there's that. Well, I mean, it's not the commander's. The commander's
like,
not telling it to you. I'm telling it as the DM. I'm telling it to you. Is like this is a difficult proposition to try and foist. It was different with Princess what's her name? LaRocha, something like that. The Elvish princess, where you planted those people with her because she recognized, she knew who you guys were. She knew who your alliances were. Your average random townsperson between here and Lady Timor's castle is not going to have any inkling. It's just a bunch of heavily armed dudes who may or may not be acting extra legally, asking us to hold on to some cops for them for a couple of days.
So how far back is the nearest town that belongs to our guy?
Well, you could go. I mean, there's a couple of ways you could go. Hold on, let me go to the thing here.
Aren't we just waiting for Ono to go to sleep so we can have these guys escape?
Escape.
Well, what I'm thinking is there don't appear to be any horses here, right?
No horses, no.
And there's no now workable boats because the boat is set on fire and the river's frozen.
Yep.
So if you cut all of their Achilles tendons, they're going nowhere. And he, of course, comes back in time for that. I didn't say kill him. I didn't say kill him. I said incapacitate them.
No, okay. What if we just got them to pinky swear?
Not good enough.
Pinky swear. If you just if you won't spill the beans, we'll
go to
let
bed,
you go.
kid.
Go to bed, kid.
Might I try diplomacy?
Well, I mean,
No, I actually had a great diplomacy.
You rolled a 30.
Yeah, so we've already got them to where they're at least considering that we are telling the truth and that there's a chance we might be right.
Okay.
But it comes down to if we leave them, they're under obligation to the king.
Yeah, and there is
They're the king's men.
absolutely
But
There's
you would
no-
think diplomacy would change their mind.
Well, it did at least shift their mind, but I don't know if it would change their.
and either way, there's absolutely no way that we can trust them.
No.
Okay.
Based on our previous experience with Talons,
We've
Of
run into
that-
a few of them that are good. A
and
lot of them
our
are-
previous several experiences with Talons have been that they're the king's or whomever is puppeting the king now. It's the brute squad. So you can't trust them to do anything they say that a person can say and be convinced of. I believe you, I all that. But if they're loyal to the king and they think that what they're doing is right, they will go right back. So you can't trust
What if
them.
I tried a charm monster?
That would
Yeah.
actually work.
Does Charm Monster work on people?
Yes.
It absolutely works on people.
How many of them are there now at this point?
All you
I
have to
think
do is charm the.
I think
the
4. You have
commander.
4 prisoners, I believe.
All you'd have to do is make it work on the commander.
So if 3 of them escape and we have the commander, we can convince
Wouldn't
the
the
commander.
commander go, you can't escape. Listen to me. This
No,
guy's
no,
cool.
3 of them escape.
No, I think if he can use the successful charm monster on the commander,
And
That
how
will
long
force
does that
him.
last?
just as a friend.
1 hour per level.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna.
Okay.
That's what I mean. There's nothing long lived enough.
No.
And where
gotcha.
we are now is, could you?
So you guys are right about. You're actually pretty close to Gallofend. You're right about there. You're just before moving into Lady Timor's domain. So right along the border area.
So how
right
far
about here.
back? How far back is it to Duke whatever?
To
Yeah,
Gallofend, to Duke Gallo's location,
Yeah,
probably
where's
a
the
day and
last
a half.
fort or the last outpost or the last?
So
set
the
of-
outposts are along the Elite Gap, which is sort of in this area. You could probably get to Gallofend. So Gallofend is much closer here. So Gallofend actually sits astride in many ways the Elite Gap. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, a day and a half, 2 days to get to. You could probably get to the outposts. Yeah.
What if I cast hypnotic pattern on Ono and then Arendar and Wraith slaughter the captives?
Well, here's the thing. Arendar is not up on slaughtering them right now. If he can get a solution that doesn't kill them and guarantees we're not going to get hosed over, he's going for that.
That doesn't sound like Arendar. Somebody is
Arendar can be vengeful when he thinks he's been screwed over. Like you guys have seen that, and I'm sure he's concerned you sometimes. But he does have
I
a
don't trust
strange,
anything anymore.
occasional sense of honor that he doesn't tend
All
to.
right, I'll just keep quiet then.
No,
Unless that's-
you and I just need to talk because Ray's the one that believes that the way
Oh
to
yeah, Wraith will
ensure that you're
Wraith will
not going
help
to get
will
screwed
help them
over.
escape to right now.
All right, well, why don't
The
I
way,
just
the way to
cast
ensure
hypnotic
that
pattern on Ono?
they don't come back and become a problem is to get rid of them now.
And once I've done that, I can turn, I don't know, fireball on our captives.
Jeez, you're gonna roast them? Okay.
Well, Ono has no idea.
Well,
No scintilla of an inkling.
Ono would say it is dishonorable and against the
That's why
lawful
we didn't consult with
principles
Ono.
of Ishtar to slaughter men in cold blood. No, we can't. We
No, their
cannot.
blood is hot.
My God. But my blood is not cold. I cannot.
Look, Ono, look at those patterns in the sky.
Oh, wait. Ono would feel very, very, very bad, and I think he would if he.
How far are we away from Lady Timor's place?
Probably
We've
2
got the
days.
guy with us that can
So
tell
yeah,
us how.
you guys are like right about here. So let me just, I'm doing red. So right about, you guys are right about there. You see that? That red circle? Square?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the white circle that we have to get to?
Yeah.
In her place?
Yeah.
And
So
how
about
long did it take us to get from the
from
green square
Pitchwood?
to the red square?
Probably another 2 days. This is mountain travel, so it's probably 2 days back to Gallofend, 2 days directly to Lady Timor.
But Lady Timor, someone we have to convince, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we roll up with some captives, try to convince her. If we fail, then what?
Yeah, I think Arendar
If
would
we-
say, we just need to keep him with us.
If we go back and drop them off where we're trusted and they'll interrogate them and get everything they need out of them, it's going to be longer back to Lady Timor's, but we don't risk getting screwed over out of character by a bad roll or two on trying to convince Lady Timor that she should side with this dwarf guy that we're working for.
I'm not as worried about that. We've got a diplomat here with us. And plus,
We had a diplomat when we went to the King's City. How'd that
okay,
go?
but that's Umbridge's fault.
How did that go?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Umbridge isn't here.
And how do you know there's not another Umbridge in Lady Timor's area?
If so, I'm giving up on all the dwarfs and they're just gonna all go piss off. Yeah, we'll just Arendar would be all for taking him with us. And if we convince her, then she'll watch the guards.
Okay. So you thinking take her to Lady Timor's?
Take them, so we're watching them.
Okay.
Ono is just fine with taking captives to receive lawful judgment, justice.
I don't know about lawful, but because
Well,
we're kind of the rebels here. We're kind of the ones that are against the law.
Yeah, and as far as you could tell, I mean, it's not like these guys have committed any crimes, at least in their own eyes and the eyes of their king.
Yeah.
I mean, they told you that they did not did not hurt anybody here.
And Arendar will say the reason he's not keen on killing these guys is the king's going to need as much help as he can get because of this stupid fight that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
When
His armies are on the way.
When we win this, because he's very confident, we still have to fight the Sargavans. And so the more people we kill, the less people that are going to be left alive to fight the Sargavans once we stop, rout, convince them not to fight, whatever it is.
Well, it goes. So, I mean, you're basically saying what happens after the battle between Duke Gallo and
he's thinking
King Steppengard.
He's thinking the long game. He's like, regardless, well, if we lose, then it doesn't matter. We're dead and I don't care what happens. If we win, then we still have to fight the Sargavans. Because sure, the king's not gonna, try to let them through, but Sargavans, they're already coming through the pass.
If Steppengard wins, Duke Gallo, if not killed during the fight, will be taken into custody and tried as a traitor. He'll be taken back to Brest.
And we're probably screwed too, or dead, or whatever.
Well, if captured, I mean, theoretically,
right.
if the battle starts to go on, it's not like you guys have a castle here that you can, that somebody can say, oh, that's where they are, that kind of thing.
Right.
You guys could escape, theoretically.
But yeah, if we win, we're going to need all the help we can get to keep the Sargavans out from both sides.
Well, that's kind of the mission. Well, yeah.
That's what we're here to do, is convince them that Sargavans are bad, not everything else. And it's not Duke Gallo, it's not Sequin, it's not,
The Sargavans seem to have really pulled off a let's you and him fight kind of activity here in the
Yes. Yeah, I think Umbridge works for him.
Works for the Sargavans?
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, she certainly climbed the ladder very quickly.
Right. And that's kind of what they do. They get in, infiltrate, and then murder from within.
It's what they did at Gate Pass. It's what they did at Sequin. It's theoretically, I mean, beyond concrete proof, it's what they did here.
Yeah.
it's possible that they're doing that in many places. Many, you know, nobody knows. I mean, you guys haven't heard any real, you know, any real news from the Mwangi, but it's possible that they're doing the same thing down there.
So yeah, does anyone have any major heartburn over tying these guys up and taking them with us to see Lady Timor?
No.
I don't, because I'm not babysitting them.
Ono will volunteer to
Babysit
watch
them?
the 3 prisoners.
Okay,
Four prisoners.
Four prisoners. Okay.
4. So I'm going to tell the prisoners.
2 prisoners.
Okay, now that Wraith's done, 2 prisoners. I thought we had 4 just a minute ago. It's like,
Hey, where'd
nope,
those
there's
other
only 2.
prisoners go?
I'm going to make sure the prisoners know that they should all be dead right now, and we're really going out on a limb to keep you guys alive. So we expect you to listen to us like exactly and enthusiastically until we get to where we're going. And if you don't, it probably won't go well for you.
Well, I'm assuming that you guys did not have this long conversation of should we kill him,
No.
should we not, in front of them.
No,
Actually, some of that turned out to be okay to have in front of them, because he does want them on their back foot, and he wants them to know that we're, you know,
yeah, one of the party
he's
wants to
doing
kill
them a
all.
favor by pushing to keep them alive. And this is very much contingent on them being like the best model prisoners ever.
Well, I guess so that the commander would speak up and say, so where are you taking us?
We have to go speak with someone. You're going with us to that.
Considering, and so he sort of like looks thoughtful and says, well, considering the direction that you came from and the direction that you're going, I'm assuming that our intelligence was correct, and Gallo is making inroads, trying to make inroads with Lady Timor.
Yep. And that's your job, is to keep us from doing that, which, you know, didn't go so well, but
don't you think it's morally wrong to try and recruit someone who's loyal to the king to send aid to a traitor?
hey, he's already, last time we gamed, I had him in my back pocket. Well, I had him convinced that there was a chance I could be right.
Then he heard you guys talking about, should we slit their throats or should we sell them as slaves? You know, that kind of thing.
There was no slave selling going on.
No, there was no slave selling.
That's immoral. I just wanted to kill him.
This was 100%. This mission's too important. We need to just drop them and get out. And then Arendar's like, no, because if we convince them that we're right and we do win this, we're going to need all the help we can get.
Well, and they're also in a position where they're, it's like, well, these guys are going to, if they don't think we think like they do, they're going to kill us. So it's very much in our best interest to ensure that they think that we think like they do.
Yes.
So yeah, so he's like, I'm assuming you're taking us to Lady Timor's, and he looks at the other prisoners. The commander looks at the other prisoners and says, as I'm giving you guys a direct order, you will comply with all instructions from these people until we reach Lady Timor's castle, at which point I will issue you new orders. And he looks at you and he goes, will that be satisfactory?
Yep. As long as they follow through, then we're good.
All right.
So
they are going to slow you down a little bit. So you figure it's going to take at least a day to get even close to that white circle. So that white circle is an area. So Lady Timor's domain is quite a bit higher in the mountains. So you know, you guys, do you guys have any? You guys have. I know you have winter clothing and things like that. That you bought this from the dwarves. Do you have any magical means of protection or anything like that? Because it's going to be. I mean, I don't know that you guys. Did you guys bring tents?
yeah, I'm sure if we're traveling, we know we're traveling, then yeah, we know we're gonna have to stay places.
Okay.
And
Saw that, Andrew.
Didn't think there was going to be a lot of hotels along the way.
No, there's not. There's not. And as you move into Lady Timor's domain, there are far fewer little towns and villages up here. It's quite a bit higher. Frankly, think it's maybe even above. Her castle might even be above the tree. It's not above the tree line, but it's close. But yeah, it's pretty high up and very cold. Cool. All right. So you guys capture these guys. You're going to stay the night. I'm assuming at the fisherman's hovel. You guys stay in the evening, and there doesn't seem to be any evidence of the people who lived here, even though the Talons will tell you that there was a fire in the fireplace when they arrived. They just never found any people. So you haven't seen any people return either.
Mhm.
And it's been a couple of days, so not sure what happened there. You don't think that they killed them though?
Uh-huh. Okay.
All right.
Like I said, we'll rest here, take watches,
Okay.
like I said, the prisoners stay tied up at all times
Okay.
and all together, so they're easy to keep track of.
Got it.
Um,
Okay. Which guy did you punch unconscious? Did you punch the leader unconscious, or was it one of the?
I think I did actually, but I'm not totally sure now.
No, I actually think you did.
Okay. Can he talk?
The leader,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
you
can
broke
talk
his
about it.
jaw, but
Okay.
I mean, he's mumbling.
All right. Okay.
And if anybody would, wanted to do some first aid on him, try and set that jaw, or
I can
strap
do that
him
for
up.
him. Actually, I do have some
I can
heals.
step in and help too.
You want to try and patch him up a little bit, see if you can,
Well,
at least he'll
I
be
can-
able to speak
I'll
better.
do it magically.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're resting here anyway, so I can just, anybody else, nobody else is hurt, are they? Does anybody need healing? I can do a burst if we need it. Or 2 or 3.
I think I'm okay. We came to
Can't
that
see
fight
myself.
really-
I know I was down a little bit, but I don't think I was down much.
Well, Les, I'll just burst until everybody's healed up to full.
All right,
Thank you.
I'll move us back to here so you can see you guys yourselves again.
I mean, I got plenty of bursts left, so it doesn't really matter. I can.
Yeah, I was only down 11 points, so.
I was down 7 points. Thank you. I will tell the commander. I'm sorry I broke your jaw.
You don't have to apologize for that.
I know that we're all professionals here. Let me just nudge that back in place for you. I know that's smart, so I'm sorry about
like-
that. You're gonna be fine. Just stick to a liquid diet for a couple of days. I mean,
For
you
a day
can
and-
just live on beer. It's gonna be great.
Speaking of living on beer, I once read that there was a monastery full of monks that decided as part of Lent that they would go on I guess, what is it, 40 days, a 40-day fast in which the only things that they would ingest were beer and water. Well, beer is chock full of delicious nutrients. So,
Protein.
They probably brewed their own, so it was probably full
yeah.
of this.
So the beer was bred.
Mm-hmm. They all survived, so it didn't kill them,
Did
but
they-
apparently they lost a fair amount of weight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So those of
Wow.
you who are, have a little around the middle, looking for a diet opportunity,
Nothing
It's
but
good.
beer for 40 days.
nothing but beer for 40 days. That could be the trick.
Interesting.
I've ran it past Marla and, snoozers, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to make it happen.
I can't click on my character
Okay.
or on my icon to fix his hit points.
Where is your character?
Top of the stairs.
Yeah.
We'll say
Okay.
I can.
Yeah, I got him. How much did your hit points go up? Oh, you're at full now.
Right. It would be max, but I can't click on him. So I think I might have oh, hang on a second.
Refresh your browser, sir.
There we go. It's all good.
Cool.
But
All right,
thank
so-
you.
You're welcome. So you guys begin trekking again through the wintry wastes as you head into Lady Timor's domain. And you make reasonable time. You think at first you thought that maybe the prisoners would slow you down, but if anything, the prisoners are moving just as quickly as you guys are, because frankly, they're probably wanting to get into. I mean, you guys are staying outside. You're you're moving. It's cold, and you're moving upwards too into the mountains.
Uh-huh.
you've definitely crossed over into Lady Timor's domain, and you're not. I mean, you travel about half a day, and you're sort of meandering through these wintry passes when you see something in the distance. Sort of, it's very small, but it seems like it's flying your way. Very soon, before you can really adjust to it or get a good look at it, it lands, and it turns out it is
Oh,
a very striking owl who
mm,
lands on a barren tree near the path and stares at you with odd yellow eyes. As you guys sort of slow to a stop, and everybody's kind of sort of looking at this owl. And the owl looks at you very curiously and sort of spins its head around, does the thing that owls do. And then it says, "My name is Vorger. I'm a representative of Lady Timor. What is your business in her domain? Speak quickly, as you will be judged."
Titus, you want this or you want me to take it?
Go ahead.
I introduce myself and tell them that we are from
France.
well, what's that?
We
You're
are
from
from
France.
France.
Yeah, we're from France. No, I'm not gonna say that. I want to live. So, what's his name again?
Vorger, he says.
No, the guy we just came from.
Gallo.
Gallo. Say we are sent here by Duke Gallo to speak with Lady Timor about the conflict that is brewing in his territory.
It kind of looks at you curiously for a minute. And anybody got knowledge arcana?
Yes.
Let's lay it on me. Lay on me a college arcana roll.
Okay.
A knowledge arcana. 16. Oh, well, that's Arendar. He's doing his best. He's yeoman.
I didn't say I'm good at it. I just have it. Yeah.
I got a
10.
16.
Wow. All right, so 216. So as you guys, Poe and Arendar, Titus is looking the other way. He's like, talking owl happens every day. Arendar and Poe, you guys realize that this is probably, well, it might not be Lady Timor's familiar, but it's definitely somebody's familiar. And the likelihood is that there's more, that there's at least one person behind those eyes in addition to the owl.
Figured that, yeah.
So it seems like it puzzles through that a minute, and maybe it's talking telepathically to whoever's behind it. And it says, do you have any proof that you are what you say you are? We can see, and it uses the royal we can see that you have taken some of the king's men prisoner.
Yep.
And they look grievously injured. One looks like it's been punched repeatedly in the face.
They're fully healed.
Yeah, they're fully healed. They might have some scars, but
Unless your owl can see into the past, that's beautiful.
actually,
So he just has a low charisma.
yeah. When the bird asked that, the diplomat that Gallo sent with us, I'm gonna say, you come up here.
Step forward. And it was actually Ginnis, wasn't it? The guy you saved? Yeah, it was Ginnis.
Okay.
So so he comes up and he says, my name is Proxy Ginnis. I've been Duke Gallo's proxy in Brest for many years, and what these men say is the truth. They are representatives of Duke Gallo, and they have come here to what's the word? Not beg, to beseech Lady Timor for aid. Steppengard approaches Gallofend even now, and Duke Gallo has called on your calling on your historical friendship, your shared borders, and your love of both king and freedom to aid him as he fights the unjust accusations of treason and the pernicious influence of the Sargavan infiltrators who have infiltrated both Gallo's territory and your own in an effort to suborn our king's will and the rule of the council.
And we have papers. We have papers here from Gallo that we collected from Sargavans that had invaded his land.
Gotcha.
that
We
show
have
their
proof.
plans.
We can show you. We can show you the lady of your domain proof of what we say. If you will allow us to travel through the domain I was going to say molested, but that's not the word I'm looking for. There will be no molestations. We're not accusing you of anything.
Consent is important.
Consent is important, as it has always been in the Vanderbilt. So Jin kind of like rolls through this, and the owl kind of like twists around a little bit and says, your request has been granted. Lady Timor will see you. Please bear this. And from underneath its feathers, it pulls out what looks to be a small necklace, which it hangs on the little spike of the tree, so it's like dangling down. It says, "Please wear this so that you may be identified as by the lady's guardians, and you may pass without being challenged. The lady expects you within a turn of the sun to present yourself at her castle, so that she may ascertain the truth and merit of your claims."
Okay. I'll walk up and grab the necklace.
Okay. It's just a heavy necklace. It's got a large sort of egg-shaped stone in it, large for a gem. It's not an easily recognizable gem. And in fact, as gemstones go, it's not really that pretty, but you can definitely, Titus, you can immediately tell that there is some, it is ensorcelled in some way. Without doing an identify on it or anything like that, you would know. But
I'll pass the necklace to Titus and say, "Here, this pretties you up."
Well, thank you. I'll put it on my head as a tiara.
all right, so you put it around your neck, and you begin, and then the owl sort of looks at you one last time and sort of flies off.
Thank you to the owl.
Wait, I had some mail to send. Come back, owl.
I'm not that kind of owl.
And then, we continue on.
All right. So obviously, the two domains are very different. Duke Gallo's domain was somewhat, I mean, for lack of a better term, it was industrial, commercial. Even his castle, had a very martial presence. They were very much devoted to the idea of protecting the Elite Gap, but also things like the Pitchwood town where you went to recruit Steppengard, and other things. This was a place that was industrious. You do not get that vibe from this place. One, it's very cold and you're up a thing, and also, at least where you guys are traveling, quite barren. The trees are denuded of leaves. There's no travelers, but it sort of has a bit of an ethereal quality to it. Being this high on the mountains with the lower oxygen, you can't help but wonder if that's affecting your perception. But there does seem to be an aura of magic around. Titus, you are especially affected by it. You get the impression that this is in many ways a magical realm. Your first thought was it might be that it's close to maybe adjacent to some sort of extraplanar place, but you do a couple of cautious spells when you guys camp for the night, and you don't think that that's the place. But definitely you get a vibe that magic is more prevalent and potentially more powerful here than it was in Duke Gallo's domain.
If I try to cast a fireball, just see if I can do it.
The whole place, all the oxygen in the air ignites. All
right.
You guys continue walking, and as you get close, it's getting close to sunset. When you guys come across something that is the first disconcerting thing that you've seen, and that is a series of immense ice guardians standing in the snowfield that you guys have to that you guys have to cross.
Jesus.
They are probably 12 to 15 feet tall, and there are several of them sort of scattered about.
Have you seen these on HBO?
What'd you say?
Would we have seen these on HBO?
Yes.
No, you would not have.
Oh, okay, because we didn't have HBO. We were too cheap.
HBO, yeah, you have TBS,
Oh,
which is much worse than HBO. But yeah,
But
so these creatures are about 16, 18 feet tall, and it looks like they're buried up to the snow's pretty deep here. And it looks like they're buried up to their knees, but your first thought is that's too deep. Their knees are too deep. It's not, the snow isn't knee deep on an 18-foot creature. It's maybe a foot deep. So their feet, once you make that realization, you realize that their feet are probably embedded in the stone of the mountain. Now, whether or not they can pull them out is another thing. As you guys approach, you can see the forward ones, the ones closest to you, begin to watch you as you pass. You can hear sort of this like sound as their heads swivel to look at you and follow you with those white glowing eyes as they watch you.
Titus needs to go first and proudly display his tiara that he just got.
yes, I'm wearing my tiara prominently.
As you do. They do. So they do as you pass forward, Titus in the lead. They continue to watch. I mean, they sort of like will watch, and they continue to watch you as you sort of pass through the middle of them, heading for the next pass. But they, while all their heads turn, they do not make any noise, or they don't say anything, nor do they attack.
So what sort of knowledge check would it take to get some inkling of who they are?
Knowledge Arcana, knowledge
Okay.
Planes, maybe.
Okay. I'm equally unskilled at both, but I can roll them.
22 for both.
For knowledge Planes, or
Yep.
knowledge.
Check that
Okay.
out.
Well,
Either.
Natural 20 on Arendar's knowledge Arcana roll.
26.
Titus, these guys are showing you up in the knowledge area.
Like I said, I'm not real strong, and I have 3 areas where I can roll, but I have
He's
no
not a
no
smart
buffs in them.
pretty boy.
He's not smart. He's a pretty boy.
You
He
know?
said he's not a smart boy. He's a pretty boy.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty
We
boy.
don't keep him around for smarts. We keep him around because he's pretty.
Just call me Dad.
He's a very naughty
Your mom
boy.
said the same thing.
Hold on. Okay. Perfect. We don't keep him around for his smarts. We keep him around because he's pretty. Your mom said the same thing. I like it. Got it. All right. All right. It's did you roll, Titus?
No, I didn't think I needed to at this point. Should I?
Well, you could let yeah, it might. Can you beat a 26?
Probably not. I'll roll planes.
Definitely not. Okay. Poe and Arendar, both of you get the impression that these are some variant of elemental, but it's not an elemental that you've ever seen before. It doesn't fit easily into the idea of a water elemental or an earth elemental. These you suspect may be from some different or intersecting elemental plane. They do look to be created or manufactured. They do look to be comprised entirely of ice. As you get closer and you pass them, you can actually see through them. They're partially translucent. So as you get close to them, like you can see through parts of them. There's a lot of impurities, obviously, but you can partially see through it. So certainly not perfectly clear ice, because it's very difficult to make. But
No.
But cloudy ice. Yes. Yes, Arendar.
All right. If they're not attacking, we're gonna keep.
They're not attacking, but they're definitely watching you. You get the vibe that they are living creatures, but they seem to be entirely comprised of ice and potentially some sort of weird elemental.
Yeah.
Do you think they like fireballs?
I would imagine that they do not. I imagine they're very much anti-fire. But yeah, I mean, if this was, I mean, those of you of martial capabilities, Wraith, you especially, have become quite a tactician over the last several months, and you realize that these creatures would pose a significant threat to any sort of attack coming from this direction. And this is the primary path, as far as you could tell, to Lady Timor's castle.
Right.
All right.
One of these yahoos in this group has that funky necklace, so these things aren't going to attack us, right?
They do not. Yeah, Titus has the necklace, and he was in the lead. And basically, you know, they basically tracked all of you, and kind of their heads would swivel and watch you guys as you passed. But they said nothing, and they made no overt you know, sort of attack. They didn't attack. They made no actions towards you. They didn't even really move other than to watch you pass.
And just for future reference, clarification, Titus is the one who made the your mama joke to Arendar, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Just writing that down for later.
Uh-oh.
We were just talking the other night about Mike. Probably most of you won't remember Skip, but Mike, you do. And Skip, when he killed Tom Bowman's character in Bob's campaign, by cutting. So these guys, so Tom Bowman's character and Matt Marlowe's character were two anti-paladin brothers, and they were shinnying down a 600-foot rope into a beholder lair, and they had bullied Skip's character pretty much the entire campaign. Well, at that point, Skip was at the top of the rope, and he cut the rope, let them drop into the beholder lair, and then sealed off the tunnel with a big rock. And it was as brutal a revenge as I have ever seen. Yeah, we were talking about Skip the other night. All right, you guys pass these guys and continue on through the valley, and frankly, it's not too much further until you come into, you sort of turn around, bend in the corner, and you immediately see Lady Timor's castle. It is an enormous and beautiful place. Those stair steps going up are probably 50 feet wide, to give you an idea of the scale of it. There are multiple towers, and not shown on this thing. There are a great many creatures. There are several creatures sort of flying about around the castle. At first, you think that they might be birds. At least some of them are owls. But a fair few of them are actual people sort of flying around as well. It is a beautiful place, and you get the impression that a lot of this. Well, I think Titus, you would be the first to say. Well, maybe Arendar would be the first to say. This is probably a place created in large part by magic.
And so I say.
As you approach, you get to within about, I don't know, 300, 400 feet, about 150 yards. When you see a couple of people who dressed as, like mages, robes, goofy hat, some tattoos, kind of come down those main stairs in the front and begin approaching you. They get within about 100 feet, and then they begin calling, "Hello, hello, welcome travelers to Lady Timor's domain. We hope you have had a pleasant trip. We see that you have brought prisoners. Lady Timor is aware of your presence, but is indisposed right now. So in the meantime, we would like to provide any comfort you may require, as well as food and drink. Will you enter Lady Timor's domain?"
Heck yeah, we will.
All of you must say it out loud.
So saith I.
I shall enter Lady Timor's domain. I feel very shy about this, though.
Oh, it's got a Fey vibe to it, dude. They look expectantly at the rest of you.
Does Lorelei have anything to say about all this?
Lorelei does. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are talking telepathically, she says these guys aren't Fey, but she'll remind you that you know, the verbal acclamations and giving your name and things like that are all things that can have poor outcomes amongst the Fae. But these guys certainly are not Fae, and she doesn't get a Fae vibe from the castle either.
Maybe they're all vampires and we have to be invited in.
And it's daytime. It might be some sort of protection spell potentially. Like there are protection spells here, but once you've been invited and you verbally acknowledge that you accept that invitation, those protection spells might be waived. That's a possibility, and not one that's unheard of. So far, Poe and Wraith have not verbally accepted the invitation.
I did.
Yeah,
Oh, did you? Okay.
I said sure.
Oh,
He
you
said
did?
sure.
Okay. Oh, so
Sorry.
all right. So everybody has said that, and they smile. And the one looks at
And turn into
the
Vrox and attack us.
I'm sorry.
They smile, turn into Vrox, and then attack us.
Yeah, exactly. No, they smile and then they turn to the Talons and say, "Commander, we know that you are captives of these people here. However, we would ask that you accept and request that your men accept the Lady Timor's invitation." And he's like, "I do so accept, boys." And there's like, "We accept, blah, 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 we accept, we accept." And they're like, "Excellent, thank you. Please follow us. We will take you aside." And they basically lead you up into this castle. It's the closer you get, the bigger it looks, to the point where when you're on those sort of steps right over here, these steps are 50 foot wide, and you as an individual are probably about, I don't know, I'm gonna put a little black stick here. You as a person are probably about that tall. You see that?
No,
No, you don't, because I'm on the wrong thing.
I was just about to tell you that. That's what the module said anyway.
I'm not smart.
SMRT.
There you go. So that's about the size of a person. Do you see it right there?
Yep.
No.
Yep. So that's about the size of a person. So as you guys approach, I mean, you're brought into this huge sort of open air, not open air, but like once you enter inside, you realize, so a couple of things. One, this is very opulent. The rugs on the floor are thick. There are tapestries along the finely cut stone interior walls. There is carved wood everywhere. There are people, mostly in robes, going hither and thon, kind of all over the place on business of their own. They continue to sort of go on. You get a few glances, especially the Talons get a few glances. But these guys these two guys that came out to you lead you sort of into an anteroom. It's a largish room where there's a table and it's already set out with food and drink. They go to you and say, you can rest here until Lady Timor has conducted her business. She will call for you when she is ready. In the meantime, would you like us to take custody of these prisoners? We can assure you that they will be kept safe and they will be absolutely secure.
Sure, please. And thank you.
He makes a sort of so the guy he goes to like sort of snap his fingers, but instead of like a snap sound, it's like a bell, and it just goes ding. And within seconds, two guys dressed in full plate armor in blue and white livery come in, and they take custody of the prisoners and drag them out. The guy that walked you up the thing kind of goes, "We need you to take these down and secure them in the appropriate space." They said, "Yes, we will." And he's like, "All right, off with you then." And the two guys kind of take those guys with them. In the meantime, the guy says, we will come back and alert you when Lady Timor has finished the business that she's conducting, and we will escort you to see her." And then those two left, and there's food on the table. There's drinks. You can take a look around the food. There's different kinds of hot and cold foods, wine, ale, dwarvish whiskey, all kinds of stuff available to you. And there seems to be a great deal of it, far more than you six could personally eat.
Challenge accepted.
And complete. They have yet to meet us.
So yeah, grab some alcohol, some warm food, since we've been out in the cold.
Yep. All right. So in this case, so it's about half an hour, 45 minutes when the door opens and this guy comes in. Captain Coelho.
He looks familiar.
Captain Coelho comes in and says, he is familiar. So this guy, if you'll remember, is Lady Timor's man. You remember him. You met with him and Lord Dashgavan's man in the capital at Brest during the period when you guys were still wondering what was going to be the outcome of King Steppengard. You're asking King Steppengard, to continue working with Sequin, and what was going to be the dispensation of Councillor Ginnis and some of those people before the unpleasantness that took place. But he comes to you and says, "Gentlemen, it's good to see you again. I'm glad you've been able to traverse not only that you were able to escape from Brest, because as you probably are very much aware, there was a bounty on all of you to be captured and brought to Brest for interrogation and potential trouble. But I'm glad to see that you escaped.
It's like, how much was it?
It was 500 gold apiece.
That's it? Let's try harder next time.
It's a pretty good sum. Most miscreants of your caliber will only rate 100.
Okay, all right. If it was a respectable amount, then we're good.
But he basically says it's good to see you guys. I'm glad you escaped. We all had sort of a laugh when we left. And so he would say, I left Brest only a few days after what we suspect you guys did, but there was more than one person at court that had a bit of a giggle at the fact that you guys managed to nab Councillor Ginnis out from under the eyes of the Talons and escape from Brest without anybody figuring out where you guys were. So, and what had happened. So you guys, pulled off that escape pretty well. So he's like, I salute you. That was a deft escape and well done. But basically, he's like, why? He goes, I have a question. Why are you here? Because he's like, look, you guys show up on our doorstep. You're a long way from Gallofend. You come here with a bunch of captured Talons, which I have questions about that too. And you request an audience with my Lady Timor. What are you doing?
Said, sorry, man. I think we're gonna bring you into war.
Well, there was always a chance of that. So he sits down.
I'll give him a quick summed up, 30-second version of us going there, finding out that the Sargovans had already invaded into what's his name's. I don't know why I can never remember his name.
Gallofend.
Duke Gallo, Gallofend. Yeah.
Duke Gallo. Yeah, into Duke Gallo's land, and we brought evidence back, and then he sent us here to get help, and these guys were trying to keep us from getting to you, and so we brought him with us.
Yep. He looks at Ginnis. Ginnis is in there with you, and he says, "Is all this true?" And Ginnis is like, "Absolutely, 100%. I was, and then he has his own tale to tell about how he was captured, how he was, incarcerated, how they tried to do, mind control on him and it didn't work, and all kinds of stuff. And there was, he's like, look, honestly, they put me under a lot of pressure, and it was only these guys that managed to save me, and to whom I'm much obliged. But yeah, no, all of those things are true. And Ginnis also goes on to talk about Duke Gallo, and say, hey, look, all the things that Gallo's been accused of, none of it is true. Gallo has always been loyal to the king, and he's been very outspoken on his unwillingness to entertain the idea that he should be king. Duke Gallo has never wanted to be a king. He's always been a duke. His family is a long line of Bandu dukes, and they've never, not in the entire history of the Bandu Hills, in the Great Book, has once a Gallo, attempted to either suborn or take over the office of king. Because that the kingship is hereditary up to a point. so I don't know if we ever talked about this, but essentially the Bandu Hills are run by a large council. Historically, it's always been a dwarf on the throne, but the laws of the council are large. They don't necessarily preclude a human from being on the throne. It's just always been a dwarf. But it's the kingship is hereditary up to the point that the council says that the hereditary king is incompetent, and they can vote in a new king. Also, if there's no obvious hereditary choice, there's no obvious heir, then the council will join and decide who's going to be the next king. So it's a bit patriarchal, but it's got an out clause. Ginnis was like, you check the records. Gallo has always been a loyal servant of Steppengard, and that hasn't changed. We're really and it basically says the only thing that we can really assume to be true is that the Sargavans have either convinced King Steppengard that Gallo was responsible for the attack on his family in order so that they can poison the king against him and gain access to the Lady Pass so that the Sargavan 5 Corps can go through. This is something, and Ginnis has been talking to you guys, so he knows a little bit about your history. You guys have been traveling with him for well over a week, and even more so after the escape. So close to a fortnight. You've spent a fortnight on the road with this guy. He's told you his story. You've told him your story. So Ginnis is saying, look, this is what happened to these guys at Gate Pass. The Sargavans infiltrated their political infrastructure, and when the time came, they closed the trap. This is what happened to these guys at Sequin. They infiltrated the magical, the infrastructure of the most important thing there, the Lyceum, and when the time was right, they struck. Now, that didn't work out in Sequin as well as it did in Gate Pass, but they're doing the same thing here. So Captain Coelho is basically like, yeah, I get it. And frankly, Ginnis, I believe you, and I believe you guys. So we need to, so what is it you want from Lady Timor? And Ginnis is like, Gallo needs help. He needs fighters. He needs support. Steppengard's armies are less than a week away. We've got just enough time to stay here 48 hours and try to get Lady Timor's help. But if we can't get it, then we have to go back. The battle is on. Like I said, Steppengard will be at the Lady Pass, will be at Gallofend within a week. He's already passed the Pitchwood, and he's on his way. He's already in Gallo's territory. He's just, the only thing slowing him down is the size of his army. Do you guys add anything to that discussion?
No, but can I do a sense motive on Coelho?
Absolutely. 18. So Coelho seems genuinely interested. And he seems genuinely, he's open to the idea. He's met you before. So he doesn't get the idea that probably the biggest vibe you get off him is he's confused. He's like, he's on the edge. You're pretty sure that he probably thinks that Gallo is not a traitor. You get the idea that Captain Coelho does not like the Sargavans at all. Almost certainly because obviously Captain Coelho is a Mwangi. He's a Mwangi extraction, and what the Sargavans are doing in the Mwangi expanse in the jungle is terrible. It's demonstrably evil. So he certainly doesn't like the Sargavans. So the vibe you get is that he's cautiously but probably on your guys and Gallo's side.
So I'm going to ask him in his own language.
Okay.
What news from Mwangi?
He looks at you and he says, also in Mwangi, he says, it is far and few between that the men of Gate Pass know my speech. How is it that you came to know the language of my people?
I have a lot of friends among your people. Well, not a lot. I have some friends among your people. They're not powerful. They're normal people, but I'm still concerned about them.
He says, I'm glad you asked. The news from Mwangi is not good. The Sargavans have made significant inroads against my people to the south. However, If there's one thing, and you see this, there's a sense of pride building up in him. If there's one thing about my people is that they are doughty warriors and they never stop. Once you have proven yourself to be an antagonist of the Mwangi, you have earned the enmity of the Mwangi forever or until you are defeated. And so my brothers and sisters to the south are fighting as diligently as they can. However, the Sargavans have brought in reinforcements from Cheliax. They are using, as you know, Cheliax is a devil-riddled place, and they brought their allies from the other planes to assist in their efforts. Whatever it is, Queen Abigail on the throne of Cheliax wishes from her colonies to the south. It is obvious that she has thrown her weight on the side of the Sargavans. And he just sort of looks at it. He's like, they are ultimately, they can call themselves Sargavans or these people or that people, but they are Chelaxians. And Cheliax has ever been an empire waiting for a victim.
Well, hopefully the Mwangi continue to fight and are successful.
That is my hope as well, brother. But anyway, from that idea, I mean, he's basically on your side, but he's still, to hear, and a lot of what Ginnis said, because Coelho and Ginnis know each other. They're all proxies of the men of the council, and they were all sort of their representatives in Brex. So they've worked together. They've been friends, and so even more so than what you guys say, what Ginnis is saying is really sort of resonating with Captain Coelho.
Yeah. Like I said, I was just asking about the Mwangi.
Yeah, he's basically saying that let's see here.
They're in it.
Yeah, they're in the soup. There's a lot of attacks. So he will tell you that the Mwangi, there are a great many guerrilla warriors coming out of the Screaming Jungle to attack 5 Corps in the valley, including what he calls the glorious Aga La Husib, which are an army from the northeast, which are have come down the river and are sort of supporting them. So they're doing that. So they're harassing them, but it's not like they're getting a great deal of success. But more Mwangi flock to the Aga Al-Sib every day. So the jungle is coming alive with Mwangi fighters who are coming to join this great crusade, I guess, for lack of a better term. So hold on a second. So here, yeah. So this is still largely the case. There has been some movement, but this is largely the battle. You've got the Aga La Osib, which is coming out of Osibu and coming to the south, attacking 5 Corps. You've got the Mazali, who are coming forward out of the grasslands and out of the south of the Screaming Jungle, and they have largely stopped the efforts of the Sargavans at the river. But what Captain Coelho is telling you is that the Sargavans are now being reinforced from Cheliax, and it's been about enough time for the first. Well, it hasn't been that much time. So the reality is, from a tactical standpoint, it's likely that those support ships were on the water before the Sargavans made their initial attacks. Right. Because it hasn't been that long. It's only been about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, the Cheliax is a long way from here. So if they're bringing in Chelaxian support, and you've actually run into a Chelaxian soldier, a Chelaxian Wyvern rider. There's no way. Yeah, you captured him. There's no way that guy flew all the way from West Crown or Agorian to get here in time. That's not a thing that happens. So he must have come here by ship. And if there's one, there's more.
And we've got the Shaladel elves are coming on the other side of the hills, right?
Mm-hmm. They're stopping. Yeah, they're on the other side. They're at Gate Pass, and they basically stopped the Sargavan Third Corps here in the valley. So far as Captain Coelho knows, that barricade, that blockade holds. So the elves have largely stopped them. But if there's reinforcements coming, that could be out of it later. That could be a much bigger problem. If they get a breakthrough there, that's going to put Sequin in danger. It's going to put the hobbits in danger. It's going to give them a pincher movement on the Bandu Hills. That could then you have 5 core in the bottom, a supported 3 core in the north, and then everything is sort of surrounded. And then they can, once they pacify this whole area, then they can move all their men south.
Right.
And that's something that you could tell as you speak with Captain Quayle. You could tell that the idea of 3 to 5 entire corps of Sargavan military moving southward into Mazzali and into the Screaming Jungle to take Mazzali and Osibu is something that gives him a great deal of he's not afraid, but it's like he definitely does not want that to happen.
Yeah. So it looks like if the dwarves go south, first, if they stop them from going through the pass,
Mm-hmm.
then the dwarves could go south and attack 5 core.
Yep.
Along with the Osibu and the Mazzali coming up from the south.
Yep.
They might have a better chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this guy understands that.
He does.
Okay. I'm good.
But he's like, he's not sure that he can, he's not sure he can make that happen. It's difficult. He's like, I work for the lady. I don't know what else I can personally do. But you do get the vibe that he believes you, and Janice especially. And it's not much longer where those 2 guys show up again. And they basically say, the Lady Timor has completed her business, and she will entertain you in her primary reception hall. If you'll please follow me, Captain Quayle. She has requested that you attend as well as you, Ambassador Janice. And everybody sort of stands up as like, okie dokie.
Time for the face, people.
Yeah.
All right. You go in and you are immediately reminded that Lady Timor is a human woman in her 20s. She's young. She's quite beautiful. And by all accounts is very adept at the magical arts. You guys get that vibe immediately. And, that kind of stuff. She's also a bit standoffish. She's sitting on at a, what might otherwise be a large conference room table, but there's a very ornate sort of carved wooden chair that she's sitting on. It's not a throne by any stretch of the imagination, but it is definitely more ornate than the other chairs around the table. Everybody is bidden to sit down. Captain Quayle goes over and takes the chair to her left, and the two guys that escorted you in take up a position at the double doors inside the room. And so she looks at you and she says, first of all, welcome to my castle. I hope it is found, you found it with, that you did not encounter any issues on the road. My understanding is that you were provided with the appropriate charms to make sure that my guardians would not attack you, and that obviously those charms obviously worked. So now I must ask you, why are you here?
Hey, Titus, you want this? You want me to take it?
Let me roll some diplomacy. Let's just get that out of the way. $31.
Oh, what do you say?
I say, well, let me regale you with the whole abridged Reader's Digest version of what's happened.
Okay.
And I begin juggling and telling her what has happened in sort of a sing-song, poetic ode, entertaining way that's fraught with emotion and enough detail to draw someone in without putting them to sleep.
Gotcha. Okay. Very bard-like of you.
I wish.
All right. So it's obvious that the way you've described things is appealing. She asks at various instances, mostly she stays silent as you spin the tale. At some instances when there's a break or a small pause, she will ask a question, very pertinent kind of question, ask you for more detail about this, what happened here, who was involved here. And when you finish, she says, look, it's a compelling tale. I am, I'm predisposed to aid you. However, she looks over at Ginnis. She says, do you have any proof of this? Anything that you can show me that proves that what this man Titus says is truth? And Ginnis first says, well, you have my word of honor as a fellow proxy, as Duke Gallo's man in Brest. And, the story of what I personally went through ought to lend credence to what they're saying. But they also you guys have some documents, right?
Yeah, I'll give them the documents.
So remind me again what those documents have in them.
It's all
Are they
about,
the documents that you took from the Talons?
these are the things that we got from the not the Talons, from the Sargovans that were invading
That's right.
Duke Gallo. Is that right?
Yeah, it was in the outpost.
Yeah, so all the paperwork they had with them, and then also it was paperwork on what we gathered from the interrogations of those people once we got them back to Duke Gallo's place.
Oh, and there are these TikToks.
And the TikToks.
The TikToks. All right, so she takes a look at the documents, and she actually calls over one of the mages from over by the door and asks him a couple of questions. What do you think? And she says, "It seems to me that your words have merit. This seems incontrovertible that the Sargovans are coming up the Lady Pass. I do have to ask you a question. Was it to you?" And she looks, when she says you, that takes in the whole group. "That was party to the betrayal of Prince Shalosha and the death of Lorabek."
We know who did that, and trust me, his day is coming.
"Tell me that story as well, because I was friend to both. I am friend to Shalosha and was friend to Lorabek."
Okay, I'll tell the story.
Okay.
And I'm definitely going to focus on the parts that we found out like after the fact.
Okay.
Especially that we, with her right hand's approval, we spoke to her through Poe. And she pretty much acknowledged that it was the guy who took over. It was humans that did it. And so basically I'm going to make sure she knows all that.
Okay.
That we weren't as, obviously we didn't know her as well as you, but we definitely counted her as a friend and were very upset when this happened. And I personally have pretty much made it one of my things on my to-do list that he will be brought to justice. We had more pressing things, and that's why we're over here doing this, but
Gotcha.
It's not forgotten.
Gotcha. She listens to this story very carefully, and then she can see she calls over her like advisor again, and they converse for actually kind of a little bit of a long time. And he's like nodding, and at one point he literally points at you guys. He points at Poe, and you can't hear what they're saying, but you can see her nod a couple of times. He's nodding and is like, yeah. So basically, at the point she turns back around and she says, "The story you tell lines up with what we have learned through independent means." So, see, this is the first time an actual smile has crossed her lips. She says, "It seems to be the truth that you were friends to the Paladin Lorbeck, and to Princess Shalosha, which means you are my friends as well. You are welcome here. And this time she smiles at you, and it is a genuine smile. And I will. And Jinnis, you look over at Jinnis real quick, and you see there's a look of relief on his face. He's like, okay. Basically, she says, because of all these things, I will do something that no one in my lineage has done for over 180 years. I will side with Duke Gallo against Steppengard. I will side against the king because I see the truth of your words. So she says,
Thank you very much.
well, she also calls in a guy who's obviously like a military commander, and she calls him over and she says, Captain, what is the state of our military, and what can we provide to Duke Gallo in this time to assist him? And the guy's like, well, we have a couple of things we can do, blah 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 blah. But he basically says we can provide 50 journeyman mages to assist in the battle. They're skilled in magecraft that is associated with war, and they will be and we can spare them from our defense. Nice. I can also provide 100 heavy foot under my own personal command, as well as 100 of our cavalry. We can send those. We can prepare them immediately, and if these men wish, we can accompany them back to Gallofend tomorrow morning.
That would be awesome.
She says, that is what I so desire. Please make the arrangements and make them quickly. Will you be, and she looks at you guys, will you guys be prepared to head back to Gallofend tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right.
Then there's something else that you guys know of.
And so it shall be. So you've convinced her, and she's going to send 100 foot, 100 infantry, 100 cavalry, and 50 mages. And your thought is that those mages are
going to be huge.
That could be a really valuable thing, because there's all sorts of things going on. Yeah. Captain Coelho comes over and is like, congratulations, you've made my lady a traitor. So she's like, I have, as much as I would like to stay and hear more of your tales, I must depart, for I have business elsewhere in the castle. But please avail yourself of our hospitality. If there's anything you require, you need only ask my servants. And she points to the two door guys that you've seen since the beginning. Ask my servants, and it shall be provided. And then she stands up and sort of swooshes out. In the meantime, you guys are escorted back to the room near the front of the castle that you had been in. The two guys that escorted you in basically say, rooms are being prepared for you. We will make sure that you have, that your stay will be in comfort. Is there any services that you require?
What's Lady Timor doing tonight?
She has much business elsewhere in the castle. And that business is not of the monkey kind.
Okay, then.
Do we have any?
You're pretty, but you ain't that pretty.
Our group in general, did we have any magic items, or did anyone have any money still left that they wanted to? This place would definitely probably be
I have money.
Place to find magic items for sale.
That's I think you gave out all the money.
Right.
So we're all pretty much flush. If there's anything as far as buying magic items is concerned, we have the money for it.
Yep.
So that would be the only thing I would think of that we might want to do while we're here. Just because
if you ask the servants, they will tell you that certain obviously they'll say the Lady Timor is obviously a magical adept, and many of us in her service are familiar with the precepts of arcane and divine magic. There is a manufactory here, but we are not in the habit of selling those things. Perhaps
barter or trade, or
I can manufacture things, remember?
You can, but not in a night.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No, maybe a fortnight.
Yeah,
don't
but
have that-
we're only staying a night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have
So-
to hustle back to Gallofend to get there before Steppengard does.
Right. So the question is there anything, and they don't sell their magic items.
Not typically, we do not.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a question of whether you can make it tonight or typically they don't, but for us, would they? That kind of thing.
I mean, we are going to be fighting for them.
No,
Sort of.
that's just the opposite. They're actually fighting for us.
Yes.
But we're so Machiavellian, they think it's the other way around.
That would take a hell of a diplomacy check.
I rolled
Um,
31.
You did roll pretty high. If anybody could pull it off, it would be Titus. All right. So yeah, they're like basically let me check with my boss
Mhm.
and see if she's okay with selling you stuff. Now it would be we have what it would almost certainly be would be potions and scrolls. But if she's okay with it, we would make those available to you. We have an extensive library of scrolls, and nearly every potion would be available to you.
Mhm.
So let me go check. Titus, give me another diplomacy check.
Okay. I want those porno scrolls.
No, those are private.
23.
23. All right. So yeah, it takes a few minutes, but they come back and they say, yes, my lady has instructed me to make sure that you understand that our potion storage and scrolls are available to you, and we will charge only what they cost to make.
Sounds
So
good.
That's nice of them.
half list price, 50% of list price.
That's very nice of them. Okay, I'm stocking up.
Yes.
So yeah, if you guys, they've got a full larder, so they'll make it available to you. Captain Coelho, while you guys are thinking about what you may want to purchase and how much money you have, Captain Coelho comes in and sort of sits down, joins you guys, and basically says, "What are we going to do with your prisoners? Should we bring them? We can do one of two things. We can keep them here." He says, "Like I've already talked to." But he says, I've already talked to Lady Timor, and she's uncomfortable with the idea of holding King Steppengard's police prisoner.
Okay. We'll take him back with us.
She's like, we could make sure that as many people as coming with you, they would be under constant guard, and they would, and basically is like, politically speaking, it would be much more amenable to Lady Timor if such prisoners were lodged in Duke Gallo's dungeons as opposed to ours.
Nope. We'll take him with us.
Okay. Cool. And he's basically like, we've seen to them, they're comfortable, but also very secure. You need not fear that they will escape in the night, nor have they given any indication that they wish to. So they've been fed and watered, and they're being taken care of.
Mhm.
All right. The next morning, you guys are shown to quarters. You guys are given hot baths and plenty of room, to sort of, again, this place is very sort of ornate. And it's in certain ways it's very feminine too. I mean, you could tell that compared to Gallofend's castle, Lady Timor's castle is definitely the castle of a young woman who is adept in magic. Whereas Gallofend's castle is something, one, Gallofend's castle gives every indication of being much older than this castle, although that could be an illusion. But two, it's much more utilitarian, I guess, more dwarvish. Remember, the bulk of Gallofend's residents are dwarves, whereas you've seen a fair amount of dwarves around here, but a lot more humans than you would normally have seen in the places that you've traveled to. Remember, the Bandu Hills are largely a dwarfish enclave, so the presence of humans here is comparatively rare.
Mhm.
But yeah, the next morning you guys get up refreshed. Do you guys know what you're going to buy, or do you want to just tell me later?
Yeah, we'll take care of it between sessions.
Gotcha. All right. and you are, given some time to sort of police yourselves up, gather up your equipment, and that kind of thing. And you are escorted out those very same front doors, except for now out in that sort of those wintry looking valleys are a bunch of people. So you can see that the cavalry is there. They're astride these very powerful looking horses, shaggy horses that lots of hair and sort of interwoven in those hair is sort of this barding of kinds, which is kind of like layered across them, and cavalrymen who carry both bows and lances. The heavy foot is comprised largely of dwarves, as you probably would expect, and they wear chainmail and iron skull caps and carry mattocks, which are these big hammers, as well as smaller axes at their belts. There are several wagons which are obviously loaded with supplies, and they are handled by what would be ostlers. These are obviously non-combatants, but they are also essentially dressed for the travel, so they're coming with. But your guess is that their entire job is to handle the supply wagons, of which there are probably 20, driven by sure-footed donkeys with cloth, these big sort of leather cloths wrapped around their hooves to keep them warm, and with big blankets covering across them. And finally, you see the cadre of mages, and this group has nothing in the way of what would be like a look of uniformity. They're not wearing the same livery. They're not, they look very different. There are humans, there are dwarves, there's a couple of elves stuck in there who look a little uncomfortable. There's at least one hulking half-orc, with a gnarled wooden staff in his hand. That you're like, where did that guy come from? But yeah, they're very diverse, but all of them are sort of, some of them have horses, some of them have magical beasts that they're riding, some of them are astride, some of them are hovering a little bit off the ground. So yeah, but there's a whole group of them, and they're sort of like, unlike the cavalry and the infantry, they're sort of like talking amongst themselves and wandering around, and some of them are laughing, that kind of thing. But yeah, everybody's outside. That same captain that came to you guys approaches, and he says, gentlemen and lady, is there a lady?
Nope.
No, gentlemen.
Oh,
The reinforcements that are headed to Gallo have been assembled. We only await Lady Timor's blessing on us.
Okay.
So they kind of like fart around a little bit more, and there's a little bit of this kind of stuff. And but about 15 minutes after you guys come out, there. By the way, he says that his name is Captain Ramia, Ramiah, Ramia. And he's like, you and your prisoners will accompany me in the front rank as we head to Gallofend. It sounds at first like a command, but you get the impression that he's used to giving commands, and that's why it sounds like that. But it was more couched as a sort of, you'll ride with me, sort of like a this is where your place will be, don't worry, kind of thing.
Right.
It wasn't like you'll ride with me, but that kind of thing. So Raimi tells you that. After a few moments, Lady Timor comes out of this balcony right here, very small, and she's looking over the place, and you can see her voice. Her voice comes up, and it's very obviously magically amplified. And she says, Captain Ramia, men of my domain, dwarves and soldiers and mages, go thou to to Duke Gallo, and aid him in whatever command that he wishes. That is my order, and I want you to come back to me victorious. At which point there's like, that kind of thing. And then she kind of goes back, and you get the impression that she's not really good at these kind of speeches, but it seems like it's her job, so she has to do it. Ramia actually says that she's not really good at these speeches, but everybody loves her, and so we're going to do it this way. And then he's like, move out. So then you guys begin heading back to Gallofend. It's going to take several days to get back to Gallofend. Probably with now this trip, considering the level of reinforcements is relatively low and relatively fast moving, plus you've got wagons and stuff like that, it's going to take a little time. It'll probably take you 5 days to get from Lady Timor's castle to Gallofend.
Yeah.
Theoretically, for whatever you've heard, that will put you arriving at Gallofend approximately a day to a day and a half before Steppengard gets there.
Good.
All right. Anything you guys else want to do before you leave Lady Timor's castle?
We're gonna bail and go to the other side of the world.
We're out. Next module. All right, cool. So you guys don't do anything, and the trip proceeds largely without peril. You find yourselves, interestingly, coming back across that same bridge. You guys didn't clean up or anything, did you?
No.
Okay, you guys sort of let the bodies.
We
where
might
they
have
lay.
like piled the bodies up somewhere or something or done something like that, but yeah, we didn't.
Well, as you approach the bridge, the first thing you notice is that the bridge has been cleaned. And the troll's body is nowhere to be seen, nor the bodies of the Talons. They're just gone. And it looks like the stones have been scrubbed because, I mean, as you approach, you can't see any blood. And there was a fair amount of blood up there.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of our thing.
as you get closer, you can see that sort of in the mortars of the stones of the bridge, as you start to begin to cross the bridge, you see that there's some blood in there, but it looks like somebody literally scrubbed the stones of this bridge to get the blood off. As you come into view of the house, you can see that there's smoke coming out of the chimney again, and everything looks to have been cleaned up. The fire's put out, the damage partially repaired, if not entirely repaired. The burnt boat, there's on a big wooden rack, it looks like somebody has been stretching spars to make a new boat.
And we see a couple of people running away when they see this army approaching.
Well, no, as you begin coming across there with Captain Ramia and that kind of stuff, you look down and you see there's like a little girl, like a little dwarf girl, and she spots you guys and runs in the house. Then you see like a father and 2 grown sons kind of come out on the porch. Remember that porch that sort of looked over the river and looked up at the bridge? They kind of come out there, and they all have axes, which they are thing. But as they see you guys traversing across, and they see the army behind it, they recognize the colors of Lady Timor, and the old man sort of takes the axe and sort of clunks it against his helmet. He's wearing a helmet. And he sort of clunks it against his helmet in sort of by way of salute. And Captain Ramia, is like, "Greetings, citizen," that kind of thing. And then they go back in the house and sort of continue on with what they're doing. But your guess is that these are the regular denizens of this place.
Cool.
All right. All right. You guys, the rest of the trip passes uneventfully, and you guys hove into view of Gallofend. There are people there. As you get close to Gallofend, you realize that there is a hotbed of activity. And so let's just take a look at what that activity is. All right. So you have got, so this is you guys come from the south and west, so you're coming down towards Gallofend. You eventually will get into one of these traverses and get to Gallofend through there. The yellow circles, as you recall, are guard stations, and they are all manned. And the little hold of Markhold over here on the pass. However, it seems that the timeline has been a little bit, because you can see off in the distance what looks to be an encampment of a military encampment out beyond Gallofend, beyond the thing. So you are welcome into Gallofend, and basically ushered into the war room, which is still ongoing, and there's maps. Lord Duke Gallo is there. A lot of the guys that Heritage is there, and they're all talking about various kinds of things. And so they're like, "Oh, you are welcome. Lord Dashkaban's men have arrived, and I see you've brought with you reinforcements with Lady Timor. You have succeeded beyond my wildest expectations, and for that I owe you."
That's what we do.
Yeah.
And we're humble too, just ask us.
The forward portions of King Steppengard's army have already arrived, and they've set up camp. And you can see they're over on that side there. Basically what they've done is they've been digging in thing. We suspect our Heritage get them up to date on the battle plan. So here's what they're thinking. So Heritage is going to basically, the first and foremost thing that they want to do is they want to conduct this battle on the relatively flat area on the other side of the Lady Pass. They do not want to have to fight a defensive battle on these heights and put Gallofend at immediate things. So they've placed guys out there to try and stop these guys from flowing down across the Lady Pass. That said, they've held the strongholds, and they have right now. Steppengard's armies have shown no inclination to cross over the pass and try and attack us from the north. So that's good. Heritage is like, we've got basically what we're planning on doing is try and engage in this battle. This circular area is essentially where we would like the battle to take place. And to that end, we're doing a couple of things. One, you can see here on the heights above the Lady Pass, the 3 green lines, those are siege engines. That's basically, those are there to, and siege engines and guys. Now they will be able, certain elements of those siege engine groups will be able to put fire into this area. So we're hoping that that's it. But mostly what those guys are doing is ensuring that if they do decide to come across the Elite Gap, that these guys they're under fire the whole way down. This is basically the tempering effort to keep them from crossing. Heritage's guys will be lined up here and will basically bear the brunt of the attack. We expect the attack to come forward due south. Right now, our scouts indicate that the bulk of the army is under the command of Marshal Malkin, who is no stranger to battle. He's been King Steppengard's primary general for well over a decade. But also, there are other things that happen. So it looks like Nina Glibglammer has come and is commanding a group of soldiers of her own. One assumes that they are. Umbridge is here.
Sweet. I'm calling dibs.
So what they've done is they've created some flank earthworks to try and make it more difficult for us to come around on either sides of their flanks. And you can see they have their own siege engines, their lines of siege engines right here and right here to sort of help protect those flanks. There is still a battle to be won. So so there's a couple of things. So basically Gallo comes to you and says, look, I want to thank you, first of all, for all your assistance. And for that, because of your assistance, I promise that if I am victorious, I will send men, as because of your honorable behavior and your assistance to me, I will send men to defend Sequin against the Sargavans. If it's only me, then it's only me. But I will also rally my countrymen around and take up Sequin's cause should the Sargavans break through. We will aid your people. In thing. It's the least I can do for what you have done to me. However, we still got to win this battle. So, and he kind of says it half jokingly, but he says, if you guys were to leave now, I think you'll regret it eventually, as not being the ones to be here during the battle. I think he goes, I've asked so much of you. I can't in good conscience. You are not Bandu. You're not even dwarves. He goes, but I've asked so much of you, but you've been so successful. I hate to let you go. He goes, ultimately, I could put you in with Heritage's men, and I know he would find a place for you, and you could fight alongside them against King Steppengard's forces. I know you have no love for Steppengard or his people or the Talons or Counselor Glibglammer. So if that was what you wanted, I would be happy to put you in those forces. It would be my honor for you to serve to allow you to serve with Captain Heritage's men. However, I think that if you were willing to stay, you could be useful in other ways. And in that, and when I mean in other ways, I mean by targeted attacks during the battle to suborn or destroy Steppengard's infrastructure and magical assistance. Here, let me show you what I mean.
How about leadership?
Well, that's part of it. So basically, he says, "Look," and he calls Heritage and some of those guys over. And he says, "Look, this is what it looks like. Steppengard's army is commanded by Marshal Malkin, who is nominally in charge of the thing, but our intelligence suggests that he is under the nominal command of Counselor Glibglammer. She is the most senior person on site, and she has been qualified to give Malkin orders." She goes, and he kind of rolls his eyes. He goes, "I know Malkin. I've fought with him. He does not like this situation at all, but he is loyal to his king. But that could be something that could be exploited." They have also brought with him a war wizard named Kelkin Thravenost, who is trained, trained at in the Lyceum with a specialty in combat magic, and he's going to be in charge of the army's magical forces. Steppengard has not accompanied them. He is at his castle in Bresk. We've ascertained that he has not come here. Right now, our scouts indicate that Steppengard's army, he has 2,000 dwarves of the hills, mostly heavy foot. And those are the ones that are under Marshal Malkin and Nina Glibglammer. They also have some Sargavan support. I don't know the extent of that. They're keeping it under wraps, but they do have some Sargavan support. Interestingly enough, they've got Kelkin and his war mages, but they've also somehow managed to acquire the services of what look to be a cadre of cryosphinxes. Right now, they're camped up in the high hills, but we don't know why they're here, and we don't know what the dealio is with that. They're camped over behind those earthworks, which they've thrown up, and they've got their own lookouts that are kind of thing. The command tent. Marshal's command tent is somewhere in the center of camp. We haven't pinpointed exactly, and we suspect also that Glibglammer's command tent is nearby. She would not want to be far. They have several captains underneath the marshal, and the three assisting nobles is Magadon and Lady Naaman have their own sections of camp. Our intelligence suggests that none of the nobles have come in person, but they've all sent high-level representatives and a lot of and soldiers. So basically, 2,000 dwarves of the hills, plus the cryosphinxes, plus the war mages.
What's a cryosphinx?
A cryosphinx is... That's a great question, he said as he Googled furiously. The cryosphinx is, I think it's a sphinx associated with the mountains. So here we go. As the wings of a bird, the body of a lion, and the head of a ram. They are here we go. Environment. They're typically they're from the mountains, but usually they are solitary. In this case, there's a cadre of them. We're not entirely sure how many. This says that perhaps they are the least leonine of all sphinxes, I mean lion-like. They are ram-headed, but they are still smart. They are males. And they will typically, it could be, they don't have much unlike unlike many sphinxes, they don't have much in the way of cryosphinxes do not have much in the way of spells. So our guess is that they are going to be used as a shock troop mechanism. They're going to swoop down out of those mountains and try and hit us on the flank, which is why we've got Heritage up front, who's going to take on the bulk of their office, and he's got 2,000 guys. Then we have Dashgaband's guys. He's brought 200 cavalry and 400 foot, and Lady Timor's guys with the mages in the foot. So there's an additional 300. I'm sorry, 500 additional heavy infantry, and 300 additional cavalry. The cavalry, especially, is going to be very valuable. King Steppengard's army doesn't have a lot of cavalry in it. And I think they are hoping that their magic and the cryosphinxes will blunt the attacks of the cavalry, because in many ways, the cavalry's job would be to go, from the right-hand side, swoop around and attack from the flank. They would largely be something along this line. So you would have them starting in this area here, and then they would come and they would attack the flank as like so. It would be a great use of cavalry, and from a historical perspective, not stupid, unlike the things that we saw in Game of Thrones season 8. The worry is that at this point, when the cavalry is engaged, the cryosphinxes come down and flank the flankers. And if there's one thing that, the problem is, the cryosphinxes are much more likely to spook the horses than a group of other cavalry or things like that. Cavalry are used to be dealing with other cavalrymen, right? So a horse attack from that side would not be as effective probably as a cryosphinx attack. The problem is we don't know how many cryosphinxes there are up there. So one of the things we do know, once we get past Marshal Malkin and Nina Glibglammer, Kalkin likes his isolation. So his tent is at the edge of the main camp. We don't know much about but some of our intelligence suggests that he is not well guarded. Kalkin, who I also know, although I haven't worked with as extensively as Marshal Malkin, Kalkin is a bit of an egoist, and it's unlikely that he has a significant guard. This may come into play later. Basically, now you've got some flank earthworks that have put up to protect their flanks, which are ditches surrounded by 10-foot high walls and sharpened spikes, as far as we can tell. They're trying to keep us from flanking their camp, and it will likely work. They also have siege engines behind them as well.
So do they look like we've got a full cadre of siege engines, or do they look like they're missing some, like our little methods or whatever they were?
It doesn't look like they're missing any. There's guys there. You did make a deal with the Pitchwood guys to tell them that they would be able to think. You don't know how many they brought. You only know how many you see, and they're clustered around. So it's not as many as Gallo has. So it could be that they ran into trouble. We just don't know.
Okay. All right.
It could be that they ran into trouble on the road. Gallo has more siege engines, but not a massive amount more.
Not a ton more. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is it that he wants us to do then?
Well,
Pick
the first, he's like, look, he goes, what I'd like you to do is essentially operate. He won't go not to put too fine a point on it. He wants you guys to operate as essentially a commando force, to go in, targeted attacks, targeted sabotage. He's like, the first thing I want you to do is to take out some of those siege engines, so that Heritage and his guys aren't being pummeled, as they approach. He's especially interested in the siege engines over here, because he's basically saying Dashgaband's guys and Timor's guys are going to be on the right flank, Heritage in the center, and the Elite Gap and Duke Gallo's siege engines on the left flank. Heritage is going to move up into this area encircled. That's where they think the primary battling is going to take place. He wants to use the cavalry in a flanking exercise because he thinks that they would be best utilized there, but he's worried about the cryosphinxes, and he's also worried about the siege engines on the right flank, on their left flank, because those siege engines, as Timor and Dashkomen's cavalry are coming up through this open area, they're going to be sitting ducks for these siege engines.
So
frankly, the first thing he wants you to do is sneak into over here and disable as many of those siege engines as you can.
okay. Just need something that's flammable, a fly spell, and Titus to like start lobbing fireballs.
They are defended, and Kalkin's tent. It's going to have to be swift. You're going to have to be able to get out as quickly as possible. Frankly, the next so that's the first thing I would like you to do. I want you to destroy those siege engines for a couple of reasons. One, it assists us in the ability of the cavalry attack. Two, we know that they are a long way from home. They can't build more siege engines. You knock them out, they're gone forever. Which means that's going to help. That's going to help Heritage as well, because he's only going to have to worry about catapult stones from his left flank. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The next thing I want you to do is, and I don't know, this is up to you whether, morally speaking, you guys are willing to do this, but I want you to kill Kelkin Thravenost. I want you to take out their mage.
Morally, Wraith and I start laughing.
Where's the monk?
Yeah, we make sure Ono's not hearing this as we laugh.
He's chief wizard to King Steppengard, and like I said, he's an unpleasant dwarf, but he could cause a great many problems for us, both before and during the battle. So I want you, once you take out the siege engines, the next thing I'd want you to do is go back and kill him.
So the siege engines are defended. Do we know how they're defended? Is it just that they've always got a bunch of guys around them? Is that?
Yeah, there's guys. I mean, it's the siege engine sort of operators
Like
over there. They don't
okay.
have, they're sort of behind the flank earthworks, and so far no one has made any attempt or any sorties. He goes, I'll be blunt, we have not done the kind of things that I'm asking you to do at all, because we want them to think that they are safe. I had hoped, says Duke Gallo, that you guys would be willing to do this sort of thing. But we had, in the off chance that you were willing to do it, we withheld sorting in this way and sabotage in this way, in order that your impact might make a more profound statement and be be a better help. If they're unsuspecting, if they're not suspecting us to come because we haven't come before, then they're not going to expect you guys.
Well, that's kind of more of our wheelhouse. We're better as commandos than common infantry. I mean, we'd be the best infantry you ever had, but
how many siege engines are we talking about?
As far as our scouts can tell, it looks like each one is a battery of 10.
So there's 10 on the left and 10 on the right.
That's what we think, yeah.
So
I mean, we got a crap load of mages. Why don't we just do a couple summon monsters, get some elementals in there, either burn them or sink them in the ground with earth elementals.
That's what I was thinking. If we had something that's flammable, if we've got a fly spell, we could fly over and just douse the things. And then from
We have a fly spell.
And then
we can summon some elementals.
Andrew could start lobbing fireballs and start the flammable stuff burning. And
well, we don't have to risk him though. I mean, if we can just use elementals, with a summon spell, and either.
What I'm thinking is that we get something going in that area of combat that they're predicting, and I'm thinking maybe using just a simple spell like Ghost Sound, and create the sound of a herd of mages casting spells, so that we get them focused on that area, that circle oval of attack, and we move around that. And I also know a guy named Macaulay Kelkin, and he was a real slob. He was not good, and highly susceptible
like to stay home alone,
bribing and threats.
Very good at making traps. So they want us to do this at the same time, or like?
Well, no, so they'd like to do it in the same night though. So essentially,
Because I'm thinking if all of a sudden all these siege engines burst into flame,
Mhm.
the whole camp is going to go on alert within a minute or so.
it'll probably, yeah, we expect that it will essentially
So it'd be nice if we could all get there and then kind of simultaneously get the siege engines going, which will get all the attention. And then we sneak in and
Well, I can cast invisibility.
can you?
Yes.
That's the good one because that lasts for a long time.
Yes, it does.
So we could do this. So basically, he's like, look, we can do it a couple of ways. You could go in the night and try to do it stealthily, but we'll almost sort of precipitate a fight beginning at sunrise the next day. Or we can take the fight to them. I can advise Heritage to make his attack, which will draw them out of their camp and create the potential chaos.
Is it
that
all
you could
dwarfs
use.
coming? Are these all dwarfs up here?
You mean Marshall Malkin's guys?
Yeah.
Probably 95% dwarvish.
Okay. Because we can do it at night because we can all see in the dark. So
Yeah, but so can
that
they.
affects it all.
I'm
Dwarves can
thinking
see
if
the-
we can
the
do
dwarves
something to
can see in the
draw them
dark,
into
too.
that area of attack, that oval.
I
And
like your idea, Andrew, of
Of
a
ghost sound.
although I'd want to do the diversion at the same time we start attacking the siege engines, just so
Sure.
it's confusion. And then with the diversion, so they're going to be confused because all of a sudden things are bursting into flames. But then if we've got the sound of mages casting spells or an illusion
Or whatever, or just
yeah,
cavalry mounting up.
then that gets their attention that way. And then we like immediately sneak behind the siege engines and go after Kelkin.
Right. Yeah, I think we need to distract them. And if we can draw them into that oval.
Oh, I don't want to be in the oval. I want to be up there.
No, we don't want to be in the oval. We want
Yeah.
to draw them into the oval.
Exactly.
So I'm thinking
At least they think stuff's coming from the oval.
right.
Actually, do any of the mages that we got from Timor, do any of them have any illusion type stuff they could do to help us out with a diversion once we start attacking the siege engines?
They could, but I mean, it depends on what you want. I mean, it's possible that we can detail somebody there. I mean, do you want?
We don't
Is that
want
what
to
you want?
endanger anyone, put them in the oval. We just as we're attacking, we want them to see that, oh, these mages or whatever that are in this oval are the ones that are attacking the siege engines, not the sneaky guys that are around behind the siege engines that are destroying them and then quickly moving to Kelkin.
It's possible. You want a diversion to hide your diversion?
Yeah.
Like, remember how Bugs Bunny would dress up like a hot chick?
I do remember that.
And then Elmer Fudd would put down his shotgun. So something like that.
Okay.
Okay, I vote Titus is dressing up as the hot chick. I'm not doing it.
Arendar, but this fits you better.
Nope.
I don't know. Ono's the youngest, and he's not here to defend himself.
Oh, I like that. And he's bald, so a wig will fit really well.
There you go. Now we're starting to talk.
But Titus has long hair. He doesn't need a wig.
That's true. He also has a very high charisma,
Right.
which could be, I mean, it could be, could seduce the unwary.
Oh, you cad!
So
Might need a brush and a blow dryer, but the hair he's got.
do we have any siege engines that can reach their siege engines?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, theoretically, yes, but I mean, it would be very difficult.
And it wouldn't be very
This group right here could potentially lay siege to these guys here,
but they couldn't reach these guys over here.
No, not that far.
Okay.
They really are dialed in to. So basically, this one is looking to. Here, why don't I do this? This one is looking to. 1 second. So. Okay. This one is in large part looking to fire in this direction to keep to sort of protect Heritage's left flank. This one is going to be firing in this direction to help Heritage in the battlefield. And this one is essentially zoned in here to cover Heritage. If Heritage has to retreat, he'll be able to get back across the Elite Gap under the cover of that one.
Gotcha.
These guys are largely set up. These siege engines, at least the scouting seems to indicate that these guys are set up to fire in this direction, but also in this direction. Right? They're basically firing over their own earthworks. These guys too. They're firing down here. Sorry. But also they've got that's over their own earthworks, but they've also are prepped to fire this way as well.
Okay. So does Titus have, he's got invisibility, does he have fly?
Yes.
He does.
So if we can be made invisible, if we can get like water skin type pouches of something flammable,
okay,
we can be invisible, fly over and just drop those pouches down on the siege equipment.
Okay.
Which dropping something, discarding something is not a hostile action, so we'll stay invisible.
Yeah, I mean, if you were dropping a rock, you're dropping basically a firebomb.
No, it's not fire, it's just liquid. It's like letting go of a canteen.
Yeah, but is it designed to ignite on impact?
No.
So you're just soaking them in oil?
Just dropping oil on them.
Okay.
So then once the illusion's ready to go off down on the battlefield,
okay,
then Titus can just start using fireball, whatever, to
ignite the oil.
Ignite the oil and get them burning.
Okay.
But like I said, if we've got an illusion going on or distraction right here, then it'll be less likely everyone except for those like right next to us. They won't think it's coming from us right here. They'll think it's coming from this diversion down here.
Right.
Like I said, we can immediately hit this, and then this is pretty close to Kelkin's area.
It is.
And there's only, I mean, actually, technically, Titus is the only one who needs to come out of invisibility to do that. The rest of us can still be invisible. And then we make our way towards Kelkin, and as soon as we've got a chance to attack, then we all attack. And obviously at that point, we all become visible. But that gets us over here. We ignite the siege equipment, and all but one of us are still invisible to basically ambush Kelkin.
Okay.
What do you guys think? I'm just throwing stuff out here.
No, that's kind of what I thought. A diversion and then a sneak attack. That's
Well, how long does fly last?
pretty long time.
It's a minute per level, I think.
Yeah.
And how many minutes is it from where we are to out to the siege engines or Kelkin's tent?
So
Well, we can start from right here. We can walk out and get,
Yeah, but
up to here.
And flying at 60 feet per second.
right, that's the
How
only.
big are these squares, Les?
well, that is an
The only-
excellent question. I would say that they are probably 100 feet squares.
100 feet.
So the only thing I'm asking is, this sounds like solid, but invisibility and fly,
Invisibility is a minute per level too.
does it last for how far we have to go?
Yes,
More than.
because we can get through 2 of these squares every 3 rounds. So
Yeah, if you
60
started
feet per
off
second.
if you started off here. All right, so we're looking at
that's 10 squares.
10 squares times 100 is 1,000 feet.
So
At 60
1,000
feet around, hold on. You got to do some calculating.
So 600 feet would take us
1 minute.
1 minute.
So minute and a half, minute and
So
two thirds.
a little over a minute and a half to get there.
And you've got
And
8
yeah,
minutes.
and yeah, we're 8th level, so these are gonna last 8 minutes.
Okay. That was just making sure
Right, right.
that the timings
Yeah,
worked out.
it'd be kind of bad if as soon as we got there, all of us became invisible.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey,
isn't
guys.
flying invisible both
It
of
would
those
still
only
be a
single
surprise
person?
attack.
What's that?
Aren't
Even
flying
if you became invisible when you got there, it'd still be
Right.
a surprise attack.
Right. Gordon, what were you saying?
Flying and visibility are both single person spells, aren't they? So how many spells does Andrew have that he could do all of us? I don't
Enough.
Well, we got a bunch of potions that we could buy before we leave.
Yep.
We actually buy the invisibility potions and
So, and invisibility and fly are different levels. So,
yeah, invisibility is 2, fly is 3. We're gonna kind of exhaust him, so he's not gonna be as helpful during combat.
hey,
So once
I'll
the
be
oil,
cheering for you.
once
But
the
you're
oil is dropped, if he's out of spells and can't cast fireball, how are we then going to ignite the oil?
his first level spells burning hands. And I'm sure
Right.
Bondrum has some fire things that
Well, yeah, I'm just asking questions. So
right.
if you've got the solutions for that, it's all good.
And actually you
I mean, at this point, you're
with as
talking
good
about
an archer as you are,
Yeah, I
we
can do
just have-
flaming
you can have
arrows.
fire arrows, and we can just I light them as you like just start firing the arrows at the
Right.
siege engines.
But we're talking about exhausting Andrew of 2nd and 3rd level spells,
Right.
or close to.
Yeah.
Before
there's no-
attacking a war mage.
So there's no fireball,
Well, how many people would I need to make invisible?
because that's a 3rd level spell. Well, there's
Well, invisible we could do potions for.
yeah, but fly, there's 6 of us.
So that would leave me 1 fireball.
And actually, we can double up on fly. Those of us who've got a little bit of strength can
Yeah.
actually carry someone else while they fly. You just can't go above a light whatchamacallit,
Armor?
Yeah, encumbrance.
encumbrance.
And the last time we checked this out, to be able to hold the bag of holding, which I have, there wasn't anybody else who had the strength to do it.
So does everyone have to do it? Can we send half?
Half
Which
by
means-
flight and half on a ground attack?
Well, the people
Or
around
just
would have
half
to.
to fly invisibly?
I mean, technically,
Because if
wouldn't
you
need
can
the-
leave me with 2 or 3 fireballs,
we wouldn't. Can I go?
Go to bed, kid.
go to bed. I have 7 fireballs, or
So
Fly.
here's the deal with it being this close. I mean, fly was just a way that we could drop this stuff in here without becoming visible, but there's nothing that says we can just take the potion of invisibility and just walk up here. It's going to be at night. I mean,
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to start? Do you want Heritage to? And that Duke Gallo is asking what you think. Do you want to use the chaos of Heritage and attacking to get in there, which means the siege engines will probably be operating when you attack, which might work
Right.
in your favor.
And I don't want that because I don't want them.
Okay. So you're thinking a night attack, a stealth attack.
A night attack, like I said, we approach there stealthily either by flight or by just being invisible. We get up to them, douse them in oil. And then from a distance, actually from the north, so we're closer to Kelkin. Then if Titus has fireball, we use that because he can probably get multiple siege engines with 1 fireball to get them started burning. But if not, we just make sure Wraith has some fire arrows on him that we just light right before he fires, and he can start firing the fire arrows at things. And that'll get him burning.
all right. So if we don't fly, is there enough time to cover that distance?
It's on your clock. It's a sneak attack. So you guys, you'll have.
Yeah, it's twice as long, but it took a minute and a half, so it becomes 3 minutes to get there.
And
Well, that was at 60 feet per second.
Actually, you know what? You can do 30 times 2, so that's 60, so it's the same amount, so it's still a minute and a half to get there on the ground. The only problem is if we're on the ground, if they do have, you know, like a camp right here or a bunch of, guards patrolling here, then we're invisible, but we still have to be quiet and get past them.
Well, there will definitely be guys manning the siege engines. That's 24/7.
But if nothing's going on, I mean, they're not going to be actively searching and, ready to fire the thing. They'll probably just be sitting around it, kind of, wait until tomorrow so we can attack kind of thing. They won't be as alert. So yeah, if we walk up and start dumping oil on things, they may or may not see it or figure out what's going on.
One thing you may want to consider is if for oil, there won't be a pronounced concussive effect that there would be with like an oil bomb of some sort.
Right.
It'll
Yeah,
just light on fire.
Right.
It won't
Yeah,
explode.
we're 100% counting on the fire to do the work, whereas fireball does damage plus it's on fire.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it does initial damage to the device, and then the fire keeps doing it. Whereas if we just light the stuff on fire, we've got oil on it, so it's going to burn really well. But we're counting on the fire to do 100% of the damage.
All right. So Gallo one of the things that you notice, Gallo is supremely happy that you guys are gonna fight on his behalf here, and he's already promised you that in the event that they win, so he's like, in the event that they win, I can promise you that we will take up aid of Sequin should the dwarves of the Bandu Hills will aid Sequin. If we lose, the likelihood is that unless I'm captured, I will need to, what's the word he's looking for? I will have to, he says it in a weird way. It's like, I will have to abandon my ancestral home, and become a vagabond away from my people. But essentially what he means is he and anybody else who survives the battle will leave Gallofend, probably and use the Elite Gap to move north. The idea being maybe join with Shalosha's people and fight 3 Corps, or serve as dwarvish guerrillas in the Elite Gap to harry, because if they lose, that means the Sargavan 5 Corps is going to be coming up the Elite Gap, right? So they can do a couple of things. One, they can do a fighting retreat and harass the 5 Corps as they come up the Elite Gap, because no one knows it better than Gallo's guys. But then once they're flushed out the northern end of the Elite Gap, because that's not a battle they'll win, right? If Gallo comes out of this battle, if he loses this battle, the likelihood is that he may be able to muster a couple of hundred guys, survivors of the battle. There's no way they can take on an entire corps of Sargavans, especially supported by Chilaxian irregulars. So basically, it would be a harrying effort until they are driven so far north that they end up outside of the Elite Gap and on the plains. At that point, they have a decision to make. They can go to Sequin and help to bolster Sequin's military forces, such as they may be, on your behalf and fulfill their obligations to you guys. Or they can potentially join up as heavy foot in Princess Shalosha's service and help with the fight against 3 Corps. And try and forestall the pincher movement that the Sargavans want to make there.
Right.
Either way would be pretty desperate. From their point of view, my guess is that if speaking on behalf of Gallo, I would say probably retreating north to Sequin would probably be their best option, rather than join the princess. Because once 5 Corps gets into the plains, they're going to surround essentially the elves and knock them out. And so by heading north all the way to Sequin, they can get there, they can help bolster the defense. They can also provide valuable intelligence as to the capabilities of the Sargavans and what has transpired.
Right. That's not going to happen. We're going to win, so.
I sincerely hope so.
All
right. So the plan is ultimately nighttime attack, probably wee hours of the morning. And what Gallo says is when you guys go, he gives you a couple of hours. You probably go a couple of hours before dawn, conduct the attack, and that will be essentially a flare in the night that says it's time to fight. At which point, Heritage's men will move forward and engage Marshal Malkin and the king's things. That will be the battle. That will be the start of the battle. At which point, the guys on the ground will determine when the best time for the cavalry attack is. If you guys can get the siege engines and Kelkin taken out, and potentially potentially a third activity would be to somehow forestall a rear attack from the cryosphinxes.
How tough are they?
You got let me check something here.
I mean, just,
Okay, so cryosphinx is a large magical beast. They can fly, but often they prefer to walk. They're big. When they do fly, they like to swoop down, and they can do like what they call a swooping charge and come down. But largely they're blunt objects. They're not precision attackers. And you don't know how many are up there. In fact, they've been hard pressed to try. They've been trying to get intelligence up there and just cannot get close enough.
So Arendar understands magic, right?
Yes.
If a magic user dies, does their magic stop working?
Usually if it's a timed thing that is a short duration, then typically yes, but not always.
Like if Titus is killed, do your fly spells go off? That kind of thing?
No, like if Nina Glibglammer is killed, does her control over the king go off?
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. It's possible. If she is indeed the one that's controlling the king, then theoretically, if she was killed, that would do that. Like if you're thinking like a charmed person or something like that, it would invalidate it.
I don't understand magic. All I know is little wimpy people wiggle their fingers and shit happens. And I put an arrow in all of them if I get a chance, but I'm just asking a question.
You think so? As you guys are asking these questions, Gallo kind of gets a serious look on his face, and he's like, "Do you think that you can get at Nina Glibglammer?
Not her.
She'll be in once the battle commences. She'll be. We don't know much about her, but all the evidence indicates that she is a political officer as opposed to a military officer, right?
But she won't be on the front line. She'll be back at some command
Yes,
or something.
but if you look at where Kelkin is, and you look at where Marshal Malkin and Nina Glibglammer are, we can either go that way and try to take her out, or go the other way and try to take out cryosphinxes. We can't do both.
Right.
That's why I'm asking this question. Would it be helpful, or would it work better if we can get to her and kill her?
I'd like to do that anyway, but
Are you asking Gallo, or are you asking your team?
I'm asking everybody at this battle meeting.
yeah.
Because I don't understand how magic works. I just know that they can control stuff from a long distance, and I've seen what Titus can do. I've seen what Poe can do, and I know Poe's not a magic user, but I've seen what's Jennifer's character? Bondrum can do, and hers is mostly fire, but she can control a great amount of stuff. So if this is the woman that is controlling the king's mind,
If
a definite if this is the person controlling the king, would killing her stop that control? I'm not even asking if that control stopped, would the king have time to pull his army back?
King's back in Bresk, yeah, he would know.
Well, he would know
yes.
if her influence stopped.
Yeah, he would.
It's just a matter of could he do anything about it
here fast enough to
Yeah.
attack.
And once again, you're talking about when this is over, whatever the outcome, if we succeed, these people, in theory, would no longer be under the effect of the Sargavans. So they would be more help to stop the Sargavans in their attempts.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying. So if you guys assassinate Nina Glibglammer, and she is indeed the one who is is exercising some sort of charm or domination control over the king, if she's killed, that domination leaves. The
Right.
king then becomes aware that A, he's been dominated, and B, he has been manipulated by the Sargavans, which immediately turns him anti-Sargavan. He denies them access to the Lady Gap. And would probably, yeah, you're probably right. He would probably order his forces not only to be additionally supported, but he would probably order them to go against the Sargavans, potentially joining with Gallows at or as I like to call them, the Gallies, and fight southward.
Yeah. But there's no guarantee that she has control of him.
No, we don't have any evidence that confirms that.
Except she's Umbrage.
Except for she's Umbridge, yeah.
Which is evidence as far as I'm concerned. So I want to kill her. I want to kill her anyway.
Yeah.
But would it be better to go after the cryosphinxes or to go after her? Would that be a quicker potential end to sort of the stupidity? Although, if the king does wake up and realize he's been controlled, he has magic users.
He does.
Magic users could get messages to the generals really quick.
Theoretically, yeah. Not super easy, but yeah. So they wouldn't be able to teleport because remember the teleport problems that you guys have here.
Well, right, but as far as being able to send a message,
a crystal ball kind of message, kind of thing, yeah, possibly.
Yes, something like not like what we've used in the past that requires people to be close, but you can send a message that's limited. It's basically Twitter. It's limited by how many characters you can use or how many words you can say, but they would have the magical ability to then call off the army. Potentially.
That's true.
There's a lot
Right,
of
bro?
ifs there, but yeah.
Right, bro? You understand magic.
Yeah.
I don't know
Actually-
why you don't take it up.
Yeah. So there's a. So yeah,
You're
there's
talking about a sending spell.
sending spell, which is 4th level for clerics, 5th level for wizards, but
the reality, I think what Chuck is saying is that the reality is that the king of the dwarves would likely have somebody capable of casting a
Yeah.
4th level spell.
and especially if he's
Yeah.
not here and he's got a battle going on, he would have to have a way to stay in touch with him.
I mean, realistically, yeah, he's probably got a couple of mages designated as phone guys
Right.
with exactly this spell.
So
Comms guys to tell them how
Like I
it's
said,
going.
it's a lot of ifs. We don't know if she's doing anything, but it just
Right.
makes sense with the evidence we've seen.
That makes sense with the evidence. So here's the pro and con, right? So if as Gallo has sort of advised, if you guys go after the cryosphinxes, that provides a definitive and obvious military benefit, which means it basically keeps the cavalry that is flanking the king's guys from being flanked themselves by a group of creatures that are likely to be very disruptive to the horses.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
On the other hand, if you kill Nina Glibglammer, it notifies the king that he has been duped. It turns him, likelihood of the whole process that you described, it turns him against you. He can phone in and say, hey, I've been duped. Call off the battle. That could end the battle right there.
Right. So the big risk is if Nina's not the one, that won't work, period.
Right.
But if
Right.
Nina is the one and we kill her, this could mean a short halt and the savior of
A lot of people.
a whole bunch of warriors who would then be available to get sent after the Sargavans.
So yeah,
People smarter than me. The question is it worth the risk?
and I would kind of pose this back to or Gallo. I mean, it's his people. I mean, we'll say.
Well, this is
yeah,
what he
we-
would say. This is what Gallo would say. He's like, look, you are not under my command.
Right.
I've asked you for a favor, a series of favors, but that's as much as I can honorably presume upon you. You have said we will that you guys will help him, right? So that's essentially, and he's like, this is how I would love it if you helped me. To him, Gallo is less enthusiastic about the glib glamour assassination than he is about the cryosphinxes, because he's thinking in practical terms. He knows that if you guys can kill off those cryosphinxes, it is going to protect his cavalry's flank and help them to win the overall battle, which is what he's concerned of. He acknowledges that the evidence, the argument that you're making is a valid one, but what he can't say is, I order you to kill cryosphinxes and not need a glib glamour. What you guys end up doing is up to you. But his preference would be for the cryosphinxes.
No, you don't have to do either or. We can do the first, and then if it doesn't work, we can do the second.
I think our position is given away, and we're weaker because if we're relying on everybody and fly,
we're going to be behind enemy lines, and we're not. Yeah,
we have to come up with something decisive.
Do we have a way to travel with people in like a portable hole or
Do any of the
holding
Dukes
or something?
Do any of the Duke's mages have teleport?
They don't. Teleport doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
People catch on
teleport's not
fire.
working. Yeah, it kills you or sends you somewhere or something.
Well, I don't want to catch on fire.
No, wouldn't be my first choice.
That sounds bad.
Well, remember they were actually capturing. There was some guys that had sort of figured it out, but they were using a teleportation base to capture those guys and throw them in prison. They had sort of puzzled it out. Now you had provided the information about that to the mages of the Lyceum, but you guys have been in the mountains for a long time. You don't know if they've puzzled it out, if they figured it out. Certainly, there hasn't been criers coming from far and wide saying, we've resolved the teleportation problem.
Okay.
They're still working on it, as far as you know. Hey, no worries, Eric. You got to split. We'll see you later.
Yep.
Hope tomorrow's feeling better.
Yeah, we don't know how these guys died.
Thank you very much. Guys, I will see you next time, and I look forward to fisticuffs with Sargovans. Thank you very much. Good night.
All right. See you.
Who took the under? Because I'm guessing that kid ain't asleep and he got drugged back into it.
But she says she's having a little asthma. So maybe she's, in addition to her penchant for staying up late anyway, having a cough is probably not easing her way into sleep, into the dreamland.
Well, as someone who is a night-based person, naturally, it doesn't matter. If you try to get someone up who is a night-based person, just their natural rhythms, at 6 a.m., they're going to punch you in the face.
Yep.
Either literally or metaphorically. If you it's one of those things.
Yeah.
So they have a night owl child, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a perfectly normal thing. Work nights.
I'm the same way, and as I've gotten older, I get up around the same time, which is like, well, I start work at 9, so I usually crawl out of bed around 8:30. Working at home is really good for that. But what I've found over the last 10 years is I used to, when I was in my 30s and 40s, I would probably hit the rack around midnight to get up the next day to go to work. Nowadays, it's 1:30 or 2 usually, and sometimes I have been downstairs, on a weeknight where it's approaching 3, and I'm like, I should probably go to bed pretty soon, but I don't feel like it. I want to drink more whiskey and watch more YouTube videos.
You've been looking more and more like Nosferatu.
That's my plan. I got this thing. This is my Nosferatu.
There you go.
The best work
Like a
schedule
Star
I ever
Wars
had
guy.
was 3 p.m. to about 1 a.m.
Okay.
because it didn't matter. When I got off at 1, I would go back home. I would stay up until like 4,
Yep.
5, whatever, until I got tired. I'd go to sleep, never set an alarm, wake up well before 3, and take a shower and go to work.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to deal with any imposed limits.
Yeah.
I stayed up till I was tired. I slept till I wasn't tired. I got up and went to work, and it was all well within the time that existed for the schedule.
Yep. My toughest schedule was when I was a newspaper reporter. We would start at 9 a.m. on Monday with our 9 a.m. news meetings. And then deadline was at 4 a.m. Tuesday morning. So we'd work 9 to 4, put the paper to bed, send Floyd off to the press plant, have a drink, watch the sun come up, go home, sleep for 4 hours, and be back by noon to throw the papers. So that was a tough beginning to every week.
Wow. Yeah.
We had to be back by noon because that's when the flats would arrive, and we had to. So we called throwing papers. It was basically, the inserts that would go, like the ads that would go in the middle of the paper.
Oh yeah.
You have to hand put those into each paper, and so we would do that, and then we'd load the sacks. So the delivery sacks would have like a neighborhood's worth of newspapers would go in one sack, and you give that to the post office guys.
Wait, you were responsible for putting the run-on press ads into the.
Yep.
Holy crap!
And it's fresh ink too. So when you get done with it, you'd be done around 2:30, 3 o'clock. That's usually when everybody knocked off, and you'd be elbow to fingertip covered in black ink, and from because you were working with fresh newsprint. You're covered.
Jesus.
Yeah, but it was still a great job. I loved it. If you're a nosy bastard who loves to tell stories, there's no better job on earth than being a newspaper reporter.
No.
All right, so Titus came up. I think it was Titus who mentioned, or it was Gordon who mentioned, "Por qué no los dos? Why not both? We knock out the cryosphinxes, scooch back, get Nina in her tent. She's not going to be on the front lines. She's not going to be in that circle. She's going to be calling the shots from the back, probably with the marshal. The marshal Malkin, Gallo will tell you, is unlikely to be in the cadres in the center. He's going to be giving orders from the rear. Well, not from the rear, but from a protected position.
Well, then maybe we need to split into 2 teams.
Oh, no, split the party. That's always a good idea.
I don't know. We should consider it.
No. No.
Okay.
I like Gordon's idea. The only question I have is if we set all these siege engines on fire and succeed in killing Kelkin, we're closer to the Nina Glibglammer than we are to the cryosphinxes. So how are they going to react? And if we try to run off to go after the cryosphinxes, are they going to be right behind us? Or maybe not, because apparently Nina and the marshal guy are cowards and don't want to engage in direct combat anyway.
A couple other considerations on the cryosphinxes. The cryosphinxes are camped out another 200 feet above the central plain that you guys are talking about.
Right.
So their elevation is up. So if you're going to go get them where they're at, you have to figure out a way to get up that 200 vertical feet, which might be fly spells. It might be having to climb those hills, which the terrain is probably pretty tough over there.
Well, we'll already have fly spells that'll still be active, theoretically.
If we're doing the fly, yeah.
Yeah.
Will they still be active? You do the siege engines, you fly over and kill Kelkin, then fly up to the cryosphinx. That's a lot of work in 8 minutes.
Well, combat usually only lasts less than a minute. I mean, most combats don't last 10 rounds, and 10 rounds is only 1 minute.
Yeah. So theoretically, the fly spells will still be active.
Theoretically, yeah. And then you would only need them to be active to get to the cryosphinxes. Going down the hills is easier than going up them.
Right.
You just get a toboggan.
I can always shoot a web across the pass that the cryosphinxes are going to traverse.
Well, that's not gonna stop them for very long.
No.
Well, how long do we need?
They're just big animals. The other side of the coin is to wait for the cavalry charge. Stay on the ground. The Cryosphinx is the plan for, at least what they think the plan for the Cryosphinx is they're going to, as soon as the cavalry begins to pull around and do that flanking maneuver, the Cryosphinxes are going to come charging down that hill directly towards the cavalry. You could intercept them at that point, potentially.
Yeah, and they're not going to do the cavalry like within a few minutes of us torching the siege engines. So we might
No,
have.
they'll wait for they'll wait for dawn.
So see, we've got time then. If we do the siege, Kelkin, obviously we're going to stir up a hornet's nest.
Yeah.
Glib glamour, and then
But
position
if we-
yourselves to
yeah, if we
interpose against the
glib glamour,
Cryosphinxes.
Then we just escape after that. And then at that stage, if we've got time before dawn to get up to there to mess with Cryosphinxes, great. If not, then what Les said, we just come back and hang out close to the cavalry. So
Right here.
So then,
Just
yeah,
wait.
we hang out, and when they charge, if we do see the Cryosphinxes, we've got enough ranged either spells or arrows and stuff that we could start messing with them early, and then us melee types can jump on ones that continue to come.
Yeah, the Cryosphinxes are likely to go down a path that probably is like this. They're going to want to catch the cavalry after they've made the left turn into the flanks.
Right.
And then if you have a web spell that will slow them down, that would be valuable. Otherwise, they're gonna burst through it.
I
'Cause
do
it's-
have a web spell.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a
going to be
rel-
strong enough to get through it. It'll be difficult terrain for them, so it'll slow them down a little bit.
Yeah, it's a relatively
And I
low,
also have a grease spell.
a relatively low
Huh?
DC spell. And
Yeah.
all it does if they save is make it difficult terrain, so it slows their movement.
Okay.
Grease is
It's a save and they
time-
fall.
10. It's a 10 by 10 square.
Right.
These
So
are
that's gonna
large
be hard.
creatures. But you can cast them at range too. It's at medium range. You can cast them from 100 feet away.
But it'd be
Almost-
hard for you to get them just because it's wide open for them.
Or I'm sorry, 25 feet away.
Well, presumably when we resume, Vondrum will be back in our ranks, and Vondrum
Right.
has grease.
You can do multiple greases in
Yes.
a border. We could do that, depending on if you could corral them into. I mean, you're talking about each of these squares is 100 feet. You would want to, but at the same time, they're likely to be coming down in some sort of cluster for
Right.
maximum effect when they strike the rear of the cavalry.
Okay. Well, web probably has a larger area than that, so
Maybe you can use webs to channel them and grease to knock them down.
I like the way you think.
They get into a smaller line to avoid the effects of the webs, and then you put the greases at the front of that line. They smack into it, they fall, or at least you create confusion, and that slows them down enough that they're going to be subject to your attacks.
I like it. Whose side are you on?
I'm on the side of objective truth.
Okay, let's party.
A friend of mine once said that in a meeting with Google. There was 4 managing directors for the Group M agencies. We're all in a meeting with Google, and Google was blowing smoke up our ass. And my friend Brad said something like, "Well, maybe they're not wrong about this." And my other friend goes, "Whose side are you on?" And he goes, "I'm on the side of objective truth." I've never forgot that. That was
Brad Nealon?
Brad Nealon said that to Dave Tan.
Oh. I don't know, Dave. I know Brad.
Dave's he just retired. He was the Google Mindshare rep for years. He just retired from Google. I don't know what he's doing now. Probably some AI bullshit.
So we have kind of a rough plan, right?
I think we do. I
Not
mean,
the details yet. We just
Well,
I know I'm gonna
reiterate that
be
rough
making-
plan because I'm not sure I grasp it.
well, I know I'm gonna tweak my stuff a lot to sort of
Right.
counter your plan. So
Right.
Yeah,
come back and all of a sudden everyone's in a different place.
you're gonna cheat,
no.
but it's okay because we're gonna buy post fact magic items. So
All right.
Yeah.
So
We
yeah,
need-
so get back to me with the magic items, the potions and scrolls that you want to buy. And that is remember it's half price and it's to the limit of your funds.
Yeah.
And then next time the war begins.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Tempting,
And
yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
I want to, it's really kind of a minor retcon, but before we left Lady Timor's place,
Mhm.
I wanted to write something, fold it in half, put the Mwangi guy's name on it,
Okay.
and leave it on the table and then just bail. And
That's fine.
I'll email that to you when
Send me
after
the
we
message.
leave. Yes.
Totally.
Oh, great. This isn't going to be poetry, is it?
It might be.
Obviously.
It's Wraith. He
Yeah.
ain't that
It's probably
bright.
poison.
It's a
You ain't
bomb.
that right.
Yeah,
It's a
so-
bomb.
What happened last time someone from our party wrote poetry?
Yeah, they had a thing with a horse, and I'm not doing that.
Hey,
That's your field of expertise.
no, it ain't. I'm not a bard anymore.
I'm not a bard.
What are you now?
It's a good question.
Sorcerer.
Yeah, sorcerer. Aren't you?
He's a
Yeah,
sorcerer.
It's in the blood.
I'm
It's
an
got bard blood.
apprentice to an
Seems-
sorcerer.
Seems kind of bard-like to me. Because we
Well-
don't keep him around because he's smart. We keep him around because he's pretty.
Well, actually, the bard was smart. Titus is just pretty,
Yeah,
but yeah.
I'll send you the note.
Okay, sounds good. And I will act upon it if that is what's required.
No, I don't think there'll be any acting necessary.
Okay, perfect. All right, send me your list of potions and scrolls that you want to get. Remember, you are limited by your available cash.
I will send you my list of grievances.
Sounds perfect. And calls for my dismissal. Let me know if you're interested in playing Deadlands next Friday. It'll be online. We'll probably start at either 7:30 or 8 o'clock. I'll send more details. It will be using, for those of you who are for whom it matters, we'll be using the Savage Worlds rule set. Suede. Gordon, probably not you. You've already played this, so I don't know if you want to be in this once, but just honing my skills before DICON.
Oh, it's the
But-
same game. We didn't get that far in the first one we did, but yeah, I'm probably
you'd be welcome to play it if you want to. If you promise not to act like you know what's going on.
Which we've
I-
all been doing for years. So it's all good.
we got too much going on to pull out another Friday, unfortunately. But
No worries. All right, but let me for the rest of you, let me know if you want to play, and I'll be
Oh, and if you want to join my eugenics
I
club,
want to play.
Oh, okay, Chuck, you're in.
Yeah.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Just let me know.
We'll do.
I know you've got some pre-gens and stuff. That's all good.
100%. I will share that around this week.
Okay.
Awesome. Anything else before we bag it?
no, good meeting.
All right. Thank you guys. Very much appreciate it.
you.
We'll see y'all soon.
Bye,
Right.
guys.
Night all.